Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Murder Podcast here on Fae Fire. I am Fae Fire, your lovely host, I like to think. And but I have my even lovelier co-host, Miss Mandy Vandy, our Yellowjackets
What?
obsessive today. It's like I have a different co-host every week because, we have all these amazing names. So, how are you this morning, my darling?
Hi, good morning. I am doing good. Hello, all of you citizen detectives, you Yellow Jackets obsessives. Yes, Misty, you are my favorite. Please, please, you know,
Misty on
be
the prowl
flattered.
today, on the hunt for the purple people, and she's not wasting any time.
Yeah, good morning.
So, well, let's see. Well, welcome everyone. We're really happy to be here. We have so much to talk about today. I'm super excited for this stream. The episode itself was like, it wasn't anything super amazing, but there were a lot of really cool details. I really loved the cinematography. This episode was directed by Scott Winant. And this is the first time he's directed an episode of Yellowjackets. I think he did an excellent job. I really noticed there was a lot of beautiful cinematography and a lot of beautiful transitional shots in this episode. A lot of close-ups on the face, and there was just like very a distinct cinematography style this episode, I feel. So I don't know if
For
you did
sure.
you notice that?
Yeah, I did. I felt like things got a lot deeper with the conversation. Like they're setting us up, and I think that if you've read a lot of the notes and a lot of online articles are really giving us kind of a kicks for episode 5 and 6. So I think this was a lot about building that, building the narrative and getting it together so that we're like, woo! 'Cause,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know about you, but this is what we do: is we look at the symbolism and we reach in all different directions. And as crazy as they are, we love to get down on some theories, and we like to get down on what's next, what could happen, what could never happen. But let's talk about it anyway.
Exactly. The more, the really out there theories are even more fun because
For
this
sure.
show gives you permission to do that as with, always going back to the very first scene with the whole cannibalism scene and Pit Girl and all of that, it was like, here, have permission to really run wild with this one. So, and then just
What?
the fact that like they, introduce the whole idea of citizen detectives is just like they're just inviting us to really,
I
dig deeper into all of these things. So it's a lot of fun. And we did that. We spent a lot of time really digging deep on this episode in particular. There were some really cool details like the book that Coach Ben is reading called The Magus, which you guys, we're going to talk about that more. We also are going to talk about Great Expectations, actually, which is the name of Walter's boat. And we kind of talked about that last week, but
yeah.
actually these two stories are very interlinked. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're going to talk about names of the characters. And actually, I saw this really great thread, or not a thread. It was just like a story from Liv Hewson, who plays Van. And it was basically the girls had gotten together and come up with middle names for their characters. So these aren't necessarily from the writers, but it's from the girls. And those are really great middle names. So we're going to look at those. And just a bunch of other really fun stuff in this episode. So, well, let me pull up our first photo. How do I do this? Oh, it's over here. Okay. Sorry. No, that's not it. That's not it. We're with it this morning, you guys. Okay, here we go. So we've got our cover photo here. I really loved this because, we had these two characters are always sort of in sync. And so, of course, we have Nat and her drinking of her whiskey, or at least resisting it, but then also Misty and her milk because, she's going to drink milk. So,
Or you
what's
can
happening?
mix it all together and have a whole latte love. There
Exactly.
may or may not be whiskey in this, but I'm not admitting to that. But it is past noon here, okay?
I don't
Like
judge.
in
Sorry. I think my
In Great
TikTok.
Expectations, you can, one is okay, maybe
Hold on,
two.
let me just fix this really quick. Yeah, I mean, we don't pass judgment, if you need to hit
Not
the
risking it. I was
the
just kidding.
opium den before
Oh yeah,
before
well,
you go and work the streets, such is life, right? Okay, I wanted to
hey,
pull this up for you guys. So one of my very favorite things this episode was the mall scene. So let's just start here because I just really enjoyed it. I don't know about you guys, but I spent a lot of time at the mall growing up. So this was like such a nostalgic scene. And I came up with these little nicknames for the girls. That just really like felt like it resonated with the 90s theme going on. But they all had such great outfits. They all had kind of a theme going on. And so I titled, I went through. So Ty is sort of the Fresh Princess of Bel Air. We had Van is Value Village Van, because come on. And Misty just gave me that 90210 vibes. What's her name? Andrea, I think, from 90210. Totally looks exactly like Misty. We have Laura
Seventh
Lee
Heaven.
giving that seventh heaven vibe, because could it be anything else?
That I actually like. I didn't even remember that until I just read this. That's perfect.
It like came to
Yeah.
me when I just looked at her. I was like, yep, seventh heaven. Nat obviously pulling off the Pulp Fiction vibes for sure. She's definitely got the Uma haircut going on. Akila was giving like that Family Matters vibe, the Laura Wilson look, just very like very regular kind of cozy sweet
Yeah.
girl. And also with her whole thing with like her sister that's going on, just kind of resonated. It was like, I like Akila, she's really sweet and she just has like a good heart. So, and then of course with Mari, Empire Records, what she's got that Liv Tyler look going on. So I just love that. So
Yeah, or what is the movie with Renee Zellweger, or not Renee Zellweger, Reese Witherspoon, and um where she like gets kissed by a girl and she like,
Cruel Intentions.
yeah, I feel
Oh,
like
I
that could
loved that
be,
movie.
I feel like that could be a Lottie. But hey, we didn't get Shauna. What do you
Oh
think?
yeah, Shauna. Oh, I missed Shauna in here. Oh, whoops, I forgot to give
I
her.
would,
Shauna is supposed to be grunge Shauna. She's
all
like
right,
Seattle Shauna.
I would put like Full House, which is like
You
not
think?
far from Seattle, but
No
it's in San
way. She's always
Francisco.
rocking
Well, just because
the
she's got a full
flannel
house.
all day, every day. Sorry, I totally missed her label there.
No,
Well,
that would, yeah, I mean, that's why I think, just because of family, that's the first thing that came to my head. But I guess it would be more of a darker kind of thing. Maybe Shauna's Cruel Intentions, or um, she definitely has, like, I noticed a lot during this, and they start the episode off with her just lying still. She has this habitual lying thing, even to her husband. But it's crazy to me because she's like, Jeff goes, "Hey, so the insurance company found the van? What? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah." And then she tells her daughter, like, okay, let me lie to the entire world habitually, and then let me tell my daughter the truth because she's throwing a fit. My like teeny, almost, I guess she's a young adult, but you know, my like my deranged daughter. I have to tell her the truth. And you know what I
Yeah.
think it has to stem with is Jackie. Oh, you're gonna lie to your baby from the episode before, you know? So I
Yeah.
think she has that, carried that with her. And you see her constantly lying and lying and lying again and again. And
Well,
it's just crazy to me.
I caught one thing though that stood out to me is though, even though Shauna is lying, to Jeff in that moment, he also lies to her, then they still have that sort of like that miscommunication in
Yeah.
their marriage where
Oh, yeah.
things seem like they're going better, but then he lies to her too when he says the cop, he can't hold it back. He's like, well, the cops know about the affair. And then she's like, what? How do they know? How do you know they know? And he says, oh, I just overheard them talking at the gym. But he
Yeah.
doesn't he doesn't admit to the fact that he like confronted Kevin in sort of an aggressive way, It
I
wasn't
think
even just like, oh, they ran into each other. No, he like went up to Kevin all aggressively and was like, you upset my wife. And I don't think we talked about it that much last week, but yeah, it did not, that's not a good look.
well, you know what I think it is Jeff is just so used to being, doing his dad thing, doing the dad vibes and being the protector, and he's trying to do all of these things normally. And you know what? Actually, I'm gonna take back my movie for. I put a movie for Jeff and Shauna. They're True Lies, but the opposite. Like Jeff is kind of becoming this detective or private. Like Shauna's kind of more of the crazy one, lived this wild life in the background that he didn't know. And so now, like, Jeff is coming in hot and learning how to be sexy and dancing on the pole or dancing on the side of the bed, or like this is what I think about that is that he lies back to her, but it's more of like a power play. It's him trying to establish dominance and trying to be like, okay, well, I see you doing it. And I think that that's the only way he knows how to deal with it because he's been so quiet behind the scenes with Shauna's big life and big lie of a life. And he's accepted it now. And so now he's just like, okay, I got to play your game, Shauna. Like
True.
I
It's
love
yeah.
Jeff.
Well, he said that a couple episodes ago that like his love, his love language is the dad, being, whatever he said. It was like being that
Yeah.
old fashioned kind of dad. And
Let me cook you a veggie burger. Let's eat a long pig burger. Human burger, veggie burger.
Well, and I think Shauna is kind of taking that from him because, when she's out there and she's like, she's the one taking the gun from the guy who's hijacking their car. And, she's the one that's sort of making moves and not really. Here's the thing, and I can kind of understand this because when and you could probably understand this too, when you're like a stay-at-home mom and your husband's the one that's going out and like doing everything, they get to go and like live life and do things and make decisions, and you're just kind of at home and you're just making decisions around the house. But like when when everyone else who's been out amongst the world comes home and they just look at your home as sort of like, I don't know, just kind of their spot too. They kind of disrespect your space in a way. And so like with Jeff thinking that he, kind of runs the roost and he's the man of the house and he's, dad making decisions and that kind of thing. But when it comes down to like Shauna actually taking a step forward, taking a step outside of her comfort zone, trying to make decisions for herself and that kind of thing, it's an adjustment for everyone. It's not just for Shauna, but it's also for Jeff and everything that he has to endure as well,
Yeah, I do. And I also think, not just the fact that she doesn't want to lie to her baby, but she's kind of coming to this realization that, hey, Shauna, you and Jeff, they're both accepting that their whole relationship has been like a lie, and that's their thing, right? So I think she's trying to save her daughter in a sense because she's seeing that her daughter's lying about going to Alana's house, about lying and going to doing the things she's doing, and they know about it. So she's so direct calling her out, which is funny because I think she knows that Jeff is lying too, but like she doesn't directly call out Jeff. But I think she's trying to save her daughter from the same mistake she did. Like when you're caught, lies are like that. If you lie, it all comes crumbling down one thing to another, and that's kind of what happens with pathological liars. So yeah.
And you can kind of like go back to season 1 where they were like, in that moment where the truth all came out for those two, when they were, admitting, like Shauna says something like, can we just not pretend that we're these, not these people that like keep secrets and lies from each other and that kind of thing. And that's almost their comfort zone. Like that's their go-to. They know that place. And so it's almost like that's their fallback. And I kind of feel like we saw that in this episode because that's like they just naturally kind of do that, which is, I don't know, it's not that good. It's not a good marriage thing. And they kind of they have like ebbs and flows in like their marriage being healthy, and it's almost like it's more healthy when they're doing
Yeah.
things that are bad, you know, that are dysfunctional than when they are, you know.
Well, it's functional for them, but it's dysfunctional too. But it's all they know, and they're
Well,
trying
and
to
I think
figure it out, and they're finally.
Shauna's like more
Go ahead.
comfortable in that place. She likes
Yeah,
that uncomfortable zone, you know, and I think that's like her trauma. She
yeah,
likes to reenact that. So it's almost like she likes that risky space. She
yeah.
operates more comfortably there.
And I don't think that she's like. I just don't think she's confident in that way. Like she's not like, yeah, I did it. You
Mhm.
know, she won't say it even with like Jackie and the Shad, like, you, where's my ear? Oh, I buried it. Like she comes up with these like ridiculous scenarios that are ridiculous lies more than what she does. But it is like her comfort zone, and it is a habit like any other habit. You know, that's what they fell into, and that's the normality of their relationship and their habits. And I think that they need to be broken little by little. And I'm really excited to see if they're going to grow or just it's going to become a lie bomb and just blow up everything. But her telling her daughter and telling Callie that, I think is going to be what, is her fall down. Unless Callie's some evil. Callie might be more evil than she is, though. So,
Well, I think Callie's like getting herself in a situation that she's in over her head. She doesn't realize the chaos that she's sort of playing amongst, and I think Shauna, you know, in telling her is trying to sort of regulate that, but it's not, yeah, it's not going as swimmingly as possible. I want to pull up a picture really quick that I have of Shauna's journal and read the passage that we saw in this episode. So let me pull this up. Okay. So, and I apologize. There's a lot of noise going on. I live next to an Airbnb and they just do what they want over there. So, okay. Okay. So we have Shauna's journal here, and she basically says in here, I wonder what they're saying about us. I bet we're on the national news, maybe even a few of those daytime talk shows. The girls who disappeared, our faces and smiles plastered everywhere. We're all trying to remember how people survive in the movies, but it's hard to remember specifics. All I know is we're exhausted, starving, and ready. So that's pretty well, okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, around about Shauna's journals. A lot of people are talking about how they believe that she may have not burned all of her journals, and that there may even be one that's in the van, and that's why she was so dead set on getting the van back, because she might be hiding one in there.
I would not be surprised. That is definitely Shauna. She likes to hide things.
Mhm.
Um, and also with the scribbling, like in psychology, that is a lot of kids scribble, and I don't, we have young children, Aaron and I. But like that means that they're laying down communications, like because they're not able to communicate. And she does have a problem communicating. That's why she lies so much. And she wants to just protect herself instead of being truthful, which this is a breakthrough episode for her. But the manifestation with which the child lays down communication bridges. So it can be really charged with emotion, all these scribbles. I'm reading from Google, like I'm not gonna lie, but I wanted to get the wording right.
Yeah, it's
But the
interesting.
emotion.
It doesn't necessarily even look like she's trying to cross out something she wrote per se. Because usually, like in
Mm-mm.
that case, you can kind of still see it. Sorry, I'm just staring at it right now.
Hi, Luna.
It does look just more like scribble. So it might just be like frustrated, or yeah, just trying to like get some emotions out. Because Shauna is um really bottled up right now, and you know, she has a lot going on as a pregnant woman. You know, it's a lot of emotions, it's a lot of
Oh my gosh, yeah.
energy, and you know, she's surrounded by people that don't necessarily know. It's like she said last episode, how do any
She
of you
doesn't know.
guys know what's best for the baby? Because a lot of them don't. You know, they are just kids none of them have had children. Even Coach Ben, you know, he's the only adult, but he's a gay man, so he doesn't have children. Not to say gay men can't have children, but we know that Coach Ben does not. So,
and we also know Coach Ben is like, you know, he doesn't have trinkets. He's not very emotionally attached to
yeah, he's not
things.
very sentimental.
Sentimental.
We learn that, yeah. And it doesn't, we don't learn if he like has any siblings or anything like that, you know, or nieces or nephews. So it doesn't sound like he necessarily has anything that he keeps super sentimentally close, except for his memories of Paul. But we'll get more into that. But yeah, I think that, you know, I think you're right. Shauna had kind of a emotional breakthrough. I think that and actually I feel like the new episode of Yellowjackets for next week, in the description, I believe it says something along the lines of Shauna it gets unexpectedly randy or something, which, you know, as mothers, we know can happen when you're pregnant. And so I think that will actually be hilarious to see. You know, she's just got so much going on, and she doesn't have much of a way of release. She doesn't have a partner that's like her, you know, support. Jeff's not there, you know, she doesn't have Jackie anymore. She's kind of operating alone, and it's hard. It's sad. And like in this scene in particular, we see her with Nat, you know, after Nat, I have a lot to say about the whole thing at the lake, and I have some more pictures of the moose and all of that. But I think in this scene in particular, Shauna is really focused on making sure that Nat and Lottie are both warm and safe and inside and get in that tub and get taken care of because of her trauma that happened with Jackie, you know, because of her loss of Jackie and how Jackie died. She froze. So
I
when
think
she
also
has two people really close to her that get freezing cold, that could die again from freezing, her like maternal instincts kicked right in, and she was like, nope, get him in the tub, take care of him, get the hot water. You know, she was right on it, and that was really sweet to see.
Yeah, and I think also she's feeling a lot of guilt this episode, because you see her coming, okay, who stole the meat from the meat shed? I didn't do it because I'm not the worst of you. Like, that's what she's saying directly. And I think she's like self-reinforcing herself, and trying to feel better, because she feels really bad about what happened, and she's trying to like mask it or hide it or just kind of ignore the fact, but she's stepping up. And I didn't even think about the maternal instincts and like her pregnancy, because yeah, at 7 or 8 months now, she's about to have this baby. We all know that. She is, wow. Like, I mean, I was crazy. So I'm crazy anyway, but just you can even imagine, and just the tiredness you have in general, and that is killing them and messing with her head so much too. And the fact she just ate her best friend, you know, there's a
Doesn't
lot
have
going
a
on.
lot, you know, she doesn't have a steady
And
food supply. And I think that you have a great point in that scene where she says, you know, I'm not taking extra food. Who took the food, do you guys think? And I think this kind of is
Javi.
similar. Yeah, exactly. It kind of goes back to who pooped in the pee bucket? Who did the poo-poo in the pee-pee
Well,
bucket?
I'm not sure that was Javi, but
Oh, you Javi
that
just came in and dropped a deuce in the bucket and left? Or
Javi did
maybe
not
Javi
do
took
it.
meat. I
But
don't know.
yeah, she's like they're children raising children, like Boney G says, they're babies themselves, which they
Yeah.
are. And you know,
Yeah.
maybe her scribbling was, maybe it's dead ass Jackie that's like taking over her body.
Oh my God.
Jackie out.
Jackie out. Hashtag. Yeah, maybe it was Javi that stole the meat, because like what else would he be doing kind of
For
lurking
sure.
around there? Also, he's terrified of Shauna, because Shauna was like the last person that he saw during Doom coming before he left. Yeah, she's like, run. Well, like demonic. And yeah, I love if only Doom coming is my comfort episode of anything of all time. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Don't, note to self, do not give Aaron a knife.
Do not give me mushrooms and knives. Anyways.
or
and then that I could
standard
sacrifice.
mushrooms
Okay.
and knives. So she's having a Shauna moment. So she's telling you not to, but that means she really wants it.
Hashtag real life Shauna Shipman. Okay.
Yeah, talk about that. Tell them about that.
Oh, well, I'm just considering starting a
Everyday Shauna.
You know, Shauna is my spirit person. She's my animal familiar. She, you know, Shauna and I are just ridiculously similar. We look alike, we act alike, we have very similar mentalities, and the whole mother thing, and yeah, just everything. So I'm trying to convince my husband. Also, I drive a minivan. And just my freaking whole wardrobe is Shauna. Like every day I get dressed, I'm like, well, Shauna would wear this. Yep, Shauna would wear this. Yep, this is a Shauna outfit. So I'm trying to convince my husband to do a photo shoot outside of my van with me as Shauna, a Shauna Shipman inspired photo shoot. So anyways, keep an eye out for that. All right. Anyways, guys.
Wait,
So, well,
Moni
before we
G,
get too much
wait.
into it, let's say hi to everyone in the chat. We've been going for 25 minutes so
Yeah.
far. So,
She says,
hello, Moni. Hello, Mrs. Duncan the Tall. Hello, Luna Cascade. I know we had some other folks up here. Well, if you guys are here in the chat, say hello. And I hope you're all having a wonderful Monday. And we're happy that you're here.
yeah, for sure.
And Luna, how do we think Javi survived? Let me pull up a picture of Javi because I have a couple good ones.
Well, I think,
Can
okay.
you guys hear this background music that's going on?
No, not really.
Okay, because it's
maybe
like
maybe
very,
in the feedback.
it's for like, I don't even know what this is. It's kind of Christian organ music. Anyways,
hi, Dulcina. I think it would be Dulcina.
Okay,
Dulcina.
Javi here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. I'm glad that we can
Monday morning
on Mondays.
I got a whole lot of love. A whole lot of love.
Yeah. I was about to order a new coffee cup yesterday. The Showtime store has a new one that's Misty theme, and it says, "Hello, Misty, you crazy effing bee." Sorry,
yeah, we're gonna have to get those.
I love it. I was like, I need that cup. So, how do we think Javi survived, and why is he not speaking? Very good question, Luna. So Mandy, how do you think he survived?
Okay, so let me just also point out Moni G's can you imagine observing the group from a perimeter? And yes, we are doing that. But I think also that they have all these tones of the underlying spirit. Now, whether do we know it's an actual spirit, or is it in their heads, or is it something that they're doing? That's what Showtime is using and doing with all of their manipulation of the times of the storyline. And I love it because it's a suggested thing. They never actually come out and say, hey. But with that being said, do we think so there's so many thoughts on this. Do we think that there was like a blood sacrifice that brought him back? Would it be Nat's blood sacrifice that was already on the on her jackets, on Javi's clothes? Was it part of Lottie's? Was it the three of them combined, Lottie, Ty, and Nat? Because it was really important that Van pointed out, well, Lottie did that, but Nat was involved too, or sorry, Ty was involved too, and then Nat's kind of in the back line, like, oh, I don't want to say what I did, but she also unwillingly put that blood sacrifice. So if we want to talk that situation, could be. The fact he's not talking, it could be also just the shock alone because he's a little kid. He's like, what, 13? But I was reading, I started reading up on like the Balquas, where it's you know, the man from the or spirit from the lake. Actually, I don't have my notes in front of me on that, but I kind of think that it's Javi going to be the man without the eyes, and if he comes back and he starts speaking, I feel like it could be a really cool concept if they gave him like a Messiah kind of feel, because Javi came back with the three of the girls powers and combined. There's something in the forest. There's something with the three of them that has a specialness, and then he comes out, and also we're getting a birth of a baby, so this could be a big factor. But are they going to lift him up? Is he going to be more of a like kind of spiritual, like how they did with Lottie, make him a pedestal, or give him a pedestal to be, hey, he's a special child too, he came out of nowhere? It's really, you know, I don't think that we got the opportunity for him to speak, because right now he's just like afraid that he's probably going to get eaten. Because imagine little Javi like being a 12-year-old boy in the woods watching them feast on Jackie. That is
Totally.
traumatizing.
Yeah. That's a good point, that yeah, I think you're right. He didn't really have much time to talk and sort of react just because he has seen some crazy stuff. And obviously, he survived for like months on his own somewhere. We don't know where. He would have had to find shelter of some kind. He would not have been able to survive the elements. He just doesn't. It's just you wouldn't. You just would not be able to. And so I don't know. It's a good question. Do we think that maybe the vision that Lottie had of the tunnel, is that somewhere that hot? Because I think it's been pretty widely speculated that if there is like a bunker situation, because we've seen sort of flashes of that, and obviously like with Lottie and the whole like candle lighting thing, that kind of seems like it's in an underground bunker type situation. So if he was down there for the winter surviving, um is there food source down there? I mean, there's all these things. Maybe he had food to eat. Maybe, and I think I kind of talked about this last week, where there's the chance that maybe he found this like during Doom coming, or just around that time. The girls told him to run. He's terrified. He runs. He goes. He finds this bunker, hides out in there, and then comes back up a couple days later. Well, at that point, the snow had fallen. Jackie died in the snow. That was like a day or two after Doom coming. And so, if he's down there hiding, pops back up and it's all snow, he may have lost his sense of direction and not known where to go, and then just was kind of like, okay, I'm going to have to wait it out. And so hopefully, there was a food source, or maybe there was a limited food source. Maybe that's how he ventured back out and found, whatever the remaining bear meat that the girls have, if it was him that was eating it. So yeah, there's a lot to kind of mull over with Javi and what happened to him in that amount of time. And then also with Travis and like what Travis is going to think about Nat and her lie and all of that. And just having his brother back. Obviously, he's going to be, I would be overjoyed if I was him. One of the things that I think it's really interesting that we don't see a lot of in this show is the relationships between, like, if the Yellowjackets have siblings, which it doesn't seem like most of them do, except for Akila. Akila said,
She's got
in
like
the other
5, right?
episode, that she has a sister, she has a nephew, she really wants to get home to them, and so that's like really sweet and endearing. But honestly, I think she might be the only one who talks about having a sibling, or that we see that has a sibling. Even Jackie or Shauna, Nat, Ty, none of them have siblings to get home to. And Javi and Travis are brothers. And so, and with everything they've gone through, I think it's going to really bond them, especially after this time apart. If it were me, I would not let my brother out of my sight.
Oh yeah, Travis is definitely going to pull out through. He's already got like some dad vibes going. Coach Ben slipping as the adult lead, adult male lead, if we're going to classically put that out there. But obviously Yellowjackets, it's based on a lie of the rugby team, but they switched it into a female lead. I like it. I love it. But Coach Ben is like slipping from the coach. He's not the head anymore. And actually we see that with a lot of the commentary, and Ben's like, what are you going to do? Eat me? I think we should hashtag bring back eat me. remember the Addams Family? Eat me. 90s throwback. Eat me. I'm a turkey or something like that. But anyway, back to Travis. Travis is gonna get that dad vibe. He's gonna get that protective thing. Like you said, he's not gonna let him out of his sight. This is amazing. He thought that his brother was dead, and it's like, hello. That's why I said the Messiah factor, because he's coming back from the dead. Everyone thought he was dead. So I wonder if that's gonna be like some power. If he's gonna start showing or exhibiting things, or like knowing where the birds are, or like how Lottie is. And Travis is gonna start. This is why he believes in Lottie so much. This is why I think he does the thing to kill himself, if he did kill himself or not. I don't know. Chat, what do you guys think? Do you think that Travis actually killed himself? That's like the distinguishing factor? Do we believe Lottie's story? Yes or no? But he's gonna just. That's why he pushed so far, because he has and believes in that power, because it brought him back his brother. I mean, what would you do in that situation?
That's a really good point because, he's been sort of we've seen this division obviously between Lottie and Nat, and it's huge in this episode. But with Travis, Nat telling Travis that Javi was dead was, yes, she had some good intentions behind it because, Travis would have kept searching for him until he could have hurt himself or killed himself or frozen. He kept putting himself in risky situations to find his brother. But and then the whole thing with Lottie and the having faith, there's no such thing as false hope and that kind of thing. So now I can see where Travis is he's going to be so pissed at Nat. And obviously we knew this was going to come around and bite her in the ass. But compounded with the fact that she lost the moose, she's going to be going through some emotional times coming up, I think. And with Travis, I think this is going to push him over to Lottie's court big time because he said, he's he's definitely going to do that. I think he's going to be pissed at Nat and not want to speak to her. And this is going to create even more of a division with them.
Well, I don't know if the thing is, I don't think anyone knows what Nat did. That's why she's so quiet. And I wonder if she's actually going to let it out because this is all about everyone. Nat's pretty forward and she always tells the secrets and truth. But I think that this whole episode was kind of the juxtaposition of that because we're getting Shauna with the truth and everyone with the opposites. And I think that Nat's not going to tell him. And I think that what's going to be the most distinguishing factor between Nat and Travis is the fact that she has no faith because Travis right now has that whole thing of faith and he's drinking the blood tea. He's giving it all. He's trying. He's finding hope in a dark place. Mm-hmm. We found hope we found love in a hopeless place. He's finding some sort of love. And then here he is, boom, there's his childhood love, his brother. There's nothing quite like it. Like my sisters and I fight all the time. We're a little bit strange, but at the same time, if there was something like that, mm-hmm. I would probably jump in front of a bullet or something for my younger sisters, even though they're, terrible. But I love you, Sarah and Rachel. Sorry.
Sisters are put on this earth to drive us absolutely insane.
Yeah, but but honestly, just I have lost a sister, just to get a little personal with it, because I do understand that feeling, and it takes a lot, and it is part of your soul, and their children, like we said, it's part of all he knew. Like his whole childhood life, he's always been there, and now he's given that fact to, hey, I couldn't protect him, and he's been sat in his travesty. And that's probably not the word.
I like it. It works.
Travesty. But hashtag that.
Add that to the list. The name list.
I know. Cece, are you, Miss Don't Get It Taller, are you making the hashtag list?
She's on merch design.
I know, right? But yeah, it's going to be such an emotional play, and I don't think he's going to be mad. And I saw a comment making this stank guy towards Nat. I think that he loves her, but he's going to feel like she doesn't get him. She mm-hmm. doesn't understand it. And then, they're just going to butt heads because they're both kind of, they're both strong characters, and one isn't going to give in to another so easy. Mm-hmm. But I think Lottie also, Lottie also, though, this whole episode, she wasn't as strong as she normally is. I think she was. You could argue that, the episode focuses on her. But when you look at Lottie's key scenes, at least teen Lottie, and adult Lottie too, which we'll go into that, but she's very what's happening? I don't know, do I believe this or not? She's starting to feel disbelief, but then later strong belief because of these things, and she feels like she is connected.
So. I think that that's a good point, Nat, because both Nat kind of has her shook a little bit, both in the younger scenes and the older scenes. Nat is sort of shaking her faith a little bit. One-on-one. Exactly. And when she goes to the therapist, she's I've worked really hard to get to this point, and I'm helping people and yada yada. But if Nat can shake her that easily, because it's not that, Nat's just all logic and Lottie is all faith, and and there's, like we've talked about, and like Travis said, everybody has their role to play. All of those things are equally important. But it's hard to, I'm sure it's very difficult for Nat, who is all logic, to see where Lottie's coming from, and vice versa. Lottie, she doesn't have, like, Nat is the huntress. She has the gun. She has something tangible. She can go out. She can work for something specifically and bring home meat. And she has a job. She has a purpose. And that's what she says from the gate. She needed a purpose. Whereas Lottie doesn't have something that tangible. Hers is all
People.
air,
No,
yeah, it's all just faith and belief, and keeping people mentally strong, which not just they can't see from each other's perspective that well, but that's why they kind of are a good balance for one another, and also like
yeah.
foils of one another as well.
So, and it is that one-on-one, and you can see them battling still, and expressing dominance over each other, but Lottie kind of giving in, like, okay, you can have the keys, or like kind of not, subtly playing a few tricks just to get one up on her sleeve.
Mhm.
Um, she might be a one-upper, she might be, but anyway, Lottie though, like, it was so interesting because her confidence shines. She's the sun since we're introduced to her as an adult. But when she goes to see the doctor, she dresses in normal clothes. And did you see that they're wearing a similar outfit? So I love how they did the set scene in this, because they're really paying attention to the colors, what grabs your attention. For those of you who don't know, I'm a visual artist. I have a bachelor's. I went to art school. I do visual. My dad does movie set production, actually. I grew up around this stuff all the time, and I apply it. But anyway, so I love what they're doing because they use these colors and they subtly do the gray tones and the whites and the plains, and it's kind of like that blue collar man. Whereas Lottie normally is surrounded in flowers and beautiful colors and things
Purple
to,
and
yeah,
yellow and
the
gold.
sun,
Here she's
the
wearing the
light.
red too,
So
when
so
she's doing
it's,
the blood.
yeah, the light.
Mhm,
She's the light.
mhm.
And that scene was so dark, and you see her put it on, and you see her fiddling her thumbs, and she's just not know. And but she does need the control. And if you watch all of our streams, I think this show is all about control factors and what they have to do to go to that thing. And Lottie's, yeah, she doesn't have a physical gun, but she loves to be able to, like, her control is, and her way of dealing with it is having people like come to her. She likes to feel worshipped in a sense. She likes to feel like she has power. She likes to feel like she's helping people. And that's what she says. I'm helping people. I do good things, and this is her justification for things she's done, and that's her identity, you know. And what happens, when she gets these visions back? She's like, they need to stop. And that made me think of her childhood, because her father, how do you stop it? Like, can you fix her? It's so simple. Like, and she feels, I looked at her at that scene, I'm like, she's kind of like rich bratty, like, okay, make it, like, let me pay you to make it stop, in a sense. But at the same time, it wasn't black or white. It wasn't like her understanding. It's like, just make it stop. Like, get the meds, make it stop. So that's like her channeling her father, instead of really understanding that, how her growth and health, you know what I mean? Like, she's a leader of, and talks about all these things, how you can make it, you're the one controlling everything. And that's the introduction speech we get. You're the one who's, it's not real. And I need them to stop because they're not real. But yet she's so dependent on the meds. Like, you see her vulnerability, her weakness, and way deeper. If you really think about it, it's way deeper than they show it, because she's there trying so hard to just make it go away. She can't control it. It's not her,
Mhm.
so it's scary, and it's really, I love seeing her like that, in the white and the gray and the dark
Yeah.
zone. And she puts her hair back, you know what I mean? She looks like it's
She's trying
day
to
and night.
really, yeah, she definitely, like, makes herself, she's like, "I'm going to the bank," and, like, she looks like she's going, she, when she's going to see her psychiatrist, she says she goes once every 6 months for the last 10 years or what have you. And when she goes, she completely changes her image. She tries to go in there and act like she's this very well put together person, and not like that sort of spiritual guru-esque person. And so it's kind of a very interesting contrast, or like she's consciously like painting herself as such, and maybe it's not as, maybe these spiritual things, well, we know they come naturally to her, like she has natural gifts, but at the same time, it's like you said, from her father, she's sort of tainted in her mind and believes that she has to hide that stuff from the outside world, or else they're going to judge her or think she's a crazy person. And granted, Lottie's had a lot of trauma with
Oh yeah.
her, with
Electric
all the
shock.
medical treatment she had to go through afterwards for
Being
making her better.
oppressed. Yeah.
Yeah, all the lobotomies or whatever.
Can you fix it?
Yeah,
Fix me.
Fix it. We'll throw money at it, just fix her.
All
and
right.
it's really sad. It's really distorted, and it's unhealthy. Her dad was like a terrible person, but it's almost like Lottie
I wouldn't say terrible. Again, it's how they're raised. It's the lifestyle they get. Her dad is a powerful, rich, influential figure that can, all right, like he's a boss, he's not the person who fixes things. He's the person who tells people to fix things. So that's, you have to think about that. And she's kind of dealing with that too, even though she's preaching that you're the one that can fix it. You're the only one that can. So I think she needs to listen to herself. I think that she's more interested in her following. And it's not about if she's helping them. It's about if they believe in her. Because she needs someone to believe in her. Because all her life, no one did, or her family didn't. And then she finally gets it here in the woods. And then she's found that. And I also think, because think about being, I think she has schizophrenia, but what it is, I'm an art student. Okay. I'm not a psychology major, but, no one in her family believed in her. She was medicated. So now that she's not on medication, she's feeling power. She's feeling this energy, elemental pull, and she's going to do it. But one thing you said that pointed out, she's painting herself. And then it brings me back to the heliotrope, because they dye all their own clothes. They paint their stuff. She paints her life. That's a great analogy that you said. The word paint, I think.
Well, there's
She's
a lot,
dead.
and that even goes deeper because, we learned in this episode that Lottie makes them all wear heliotrope because some of the people are rich, some of them are poor, but she wants them all to be equals except her. She's the only one that's not wearing purple all the time. She's wearing the gold, and because heliotrope follows the sun. And so, she's the sun. She makes herself to be the sun. Even when she goes to the therapist, even though she dresses all, better put on my white sweater that's, all churchy and all this kind of stuff, she's still wearing her serpent jewelry, but it's gold, so she still like keeps her sun vibe about her queen bee vibe. And gold being associated with the sun, silver being with the moon. So, and I think that also is a huge factor in this as well. But yeah, and actually Nat wears a lot of silver. So that's another good point.
And black. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we could be the sun and moon with those two. It's pretty on point, I think.
Yeah. And I think, like you were saying with the outfits, Lottie, she gets out of her element in this outfit, the dress right here. She's wearing a red dress when she goes to make the blood offering to the wilderness. And so, again, it's her, she's very, whether she's doing it consciously or if it's just, it would be funny if she's consciously like, as Lottie Matthews, she's like, well, better wear red today, better wear, white for this, better wear, anyways, whatever.
Yeah, it's actually like a Indian type clothing. That's I don't know what it's called exactly. I forget. There's a name for it, but that's really expensive what she's wearing. It's not cheap. I mean, you can buy cheap versions, but you can tell by the luster and the fabric. I mean, obviously we're looking at it, but I'm trained for that. But like that's an expensive outfit she's wearing. So
yeah,
but I think that she dresses herself up for the sacrifice, which is ritualistic now in her head at least.
Absolutely. Well, she even like when with her cult, she wears that white robe when they were doing the burial ceremony, which is very antler queen-esque. So
I love. I'm sorry. That's my favorite when Nat comes in like I could kill you. Wait, I lost you on the stream. I just
yeah,
clicked out of the bucket, but hold on one second. But
that
she
was
comes in and she's like, "Oh, Nat, like what's going on?" Like she's such in like a space. Like I
I
love
love
the actor. I love how she does that. What's the name of the actress that does her? The adult Lottie?
Juliette Lewis.
No,
Oh,
Lottie.
oh, Simone Kessel.
Yeah, okay. So her face, like how she comes, like she can tell she's like just in this trance and
Yeah.
I
Because
love it.
if you're
Yeah,
like a person who does energy work, you have to get yourself into a space. So she had to work to get into her energy space
yeah.
to go out and do this ritual. And then all of a sudden, somebody just comes and swinging a stick in the middle of it would just be like, yeah, her face. She does an excellent job in that scene. And also going back to them being the sun and the moon, that scene takes place at night. So like Lottie's not in her power. She's not acting as the sun in that moment. It's
Good
Nat
point.
who's in her power because it's at night. So if Nat is the moon, then yeah. Anyhow, here we
Yeah.
go with our deep symbolism.
Ooh.
I come here for, right? Okay. So, and there was one note I pulled up, I highlighted the comment, but I think Luna said something about Hannibal Lecter and the starling soup, and I think that's a really great connection. I loved the starling soup that like
Yes.
Travis is like he picks up his spoon and it's just like a whole skull on the spoon. I loved that scene. It cracks me up. So, anyhow.
See, I did not even see that, and I watched the episode 3 times.
Yeah, it's in that moment where Crystal and Misty are singing the
Yeah,
Evita song. Yeah,
I think
it's
that's why I was more focused on uh the rainbow of Argentina.
they're so good. They're so funny. Okay, so let's see here. Well, let's see what we're doing next here. Let's go.
So much for the notes.
So much for the notes. We had plans. We did have plans. Okay, I'm going to pull up. We're going to go back here. We're going to talk about the book situation because we're almost an hour in. So I definitely want us to talk about the book. Let me.
I know. You guys, we really try. Like, it's so funny, but we
We
put together notes, characters, slides. We're like, okay, we're going to keep it to an hour. But once we get talking,
Yeah.
we love
Let
it.
me.
Thank you guys for following and being here of our Monday morning chatter. Hey, hey.
We are very happy to have you guys here. Okay.
Yeah. And it's also like great, we know that we're deep and crazy and we are reaching on a lot of stuff, but it's fun to, just talk about it. And it's great to have people and find a community like you guys that like get deep with us. So it makes us
We have
not so
so much
crazy.
fun. And we both have been like so looking forward to this stream today. Both of us have been like, I'm so excited for Monday. There's just been so much to talk about. So, okay, so with Coach Ben, now he's been reading this book, and we also saw Misty read this book in season 1. This book is called The Magus. Okay. And so the Magus.
Let me drop the link for everyone.
Sure. Yeah, there's an excellent like I guess an audio narration, but kind of like a radio show style of this book that's on YouTube. So definitely if you guys want to go check it out, it's only a few hours long and I really enjoyed it. The actor who does the voice of the Magus is Charles Dance, which a lot of my Thrones people are familiar with, Tywin Lannister. And of course,
Tywin, Big Daddy Tywin. I got a Big Daddy, Big Tywin D energy. I love
Yep,
him.
Big D energy. Yeah, I do love Tywin. He's a wonderful man. Well, he's not a wonderful man, but I just like his character a lot. Okay, so and I like Charles Dance a lot. He's kind of a sexy older man. So, okay, so the Magus, and we're also going to talk about Great Expectations, and these books are actually very similar in their story structure, but also like in the Magus they even call out Great Expectations, because we know Great Expectations written by Charles Dickens. So it was from, I want to say, the 1800s. Yeah. So anyway, so let's talk about the Magus. So the Magus is about a young man who is a teacher of sorts. I mean, he essentially gets hired to go to do a teaching job in Greece. And before he leaves, he has a girlfriend. He starts a relationship with a woman. But he's kind of a little bit of a, I don't want to say he's a player. He's just not quite ready to settle down. He's ready to go. He wants to go on this Greece adventure. And even though this woman that he's dating is like a really sweet girl, really nice person who obviously cares about him a lot, he's like, I need to go and experience life kind of thing. So he goes to Greece. He gets hired on out of school, and then he gets taken by like a former professor, essentially, who invites him to go to his property to do something or another. I can't remember what. Anyways, turns out this guy's a little bit crazy. And he's essentially, the Magus is this, he went through a traumatic experience. He was in the war, World War I, and he went through a really traumatic experience where he was put in a position where he essentially was told by a bunch of German soldiers that he needed to like kill the leader of their village, and then they would all be able to go free, kind of thing. And so it's just kind of this traumatic experience that this guy gets put into. And then what he does is he sort of takes these people, now that he's older and he's rich and he's kind of like this rich sort of crazy person, he takes younger people and sort of reenacts the situation, this traumatic experience that he goes through. And it's slightly different, it's structured differently for each person because it's more personal to them. So like with this guy, forgive me, I can't remember his name, but since he's a bit of a womanizer and that kind of thing, that's essentially what is played upon for his like punishment, in essence. And so at the end of the whole thing, he sort of has to be a judge of himself, but punish like this pseudo love interest of his. And it's just kind of it's a big, huge mind fuck is what it is. And literally that's what it is. And they like fake the death of, his actual woman that he loves. And, just, it's a really crazy story. And so what is interesting is it has a lot in common with Great Expectations. And so if you guys have read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, you'll understand that the main character, Pip, he is, he's raised up as a blacksmith's boy. His sister is married to a blacksmith. They're raising him. He thinks he can have a better life for himself. So basically he gets hooked up with this kind of insane older woman who is essentially doing the same thing as the Magus. She went through a traumatic experience. Her fiance left her at the altar, kind of thing. And so now she's adopted this younger girl, and she's also sort of taking in Pip to raise him to be a gentleman. But in essence, she's sort of recreating her own traumatic experience where she was left at the altar. She wears her wedding dress all the time. And so it's kind of crazy. These two things sort of have a similar thing. It's similar storyline or story structure. And even in the Magus, he says that the main character in the Magus, he says that the Magus is his own personal Miss Havisham, which is the name of the woman in Great Expectations. Now, why is all of this relevant? Well, Walter's boat is called Great Expectations. Okay. Why? We don't know. But then also Coach Ben is reading this book called The Magus. And so these stories are very interlinked with each other. They're very interwoven, written in completely different time periods, but they're very similar stories. And so why both of them are included in Yellowjackets is the real question. Why? Because obviously it's reflective of something. So what these two stories have in common, there is a wealthy benefactor who's sort of creating a situation that they want acted out by the Yellowjackets. And so if we can kind of look at like maybe their younger years are sort of act one, then who's sort of controlling act 2? And it kind of seems like it's Lottie, because obviously she's like, got her whole cult situation. She's kind of drawing the other girls in.
Or
But
Lottie's
my
daddy.
is like, Walter, we just found out Walter is a millionaire in this episode. So like, it's kind of interesting as to why that came up, along with all these other details that are sort of interwoven. So
yeah, and the fact he's like, yeah, God, Walter and Misty, like we got to get into them too, but after this, I love them so much, and the scene with them just like back and forth, so 90s. But anyway, let's stay on this topic. But he also says, yeah, that's the least interesting thing of you, and that makes me think like most people who would find that out would be really interested, like how we see Adam with Shauna. Walter's like, yeah, whatever. Like the other things are more interesting, and I think that he could be one of the people pulling the strings from behind the curtain.
That's kind of what I'm really wondering too, because it's like all these little details. And another thing that Walter said that was a little bit suspicious is, he's telling Misty, your friends are so lucky to have somebody so dedicated to them, and this and that. And for some reason that kind of struck me, like reminded me of Adam, because he's so obsessed with Adam's case. He's so obsessed with finding Adam. So, and I've been speculating that he's Adam's brother, but maybe it's more like he's one of his friends, or like his best friend. And he's, just like Misty, because we see all these parallels with Misty and Walter and how much they are so much alike each other. So maybe it is more like he's Adam's best friend, and he's obsessively searching for him because, the cops aren't. I don't know. Just a thought. It's kind of interesting. It's just weird that these stories keep coming up, especially the Magus, because we saw it in season 1, and then, Coach Ben is reading it again. And so that seems significant, especially because of the relationship between Misty and Coach Ben, where he's sort of playing a false, like he's leading her on kind of thing, or he was, until he admitted that he was gay. But you have to imagine that Misty probably has some lingering like embarrassment and hurt feelings, I would imagine, from Ben lying to her. So is that also intertwined in this story? Because we do see, like in Great Expectations, there's like a love betrayal, or even in the Magus, there's kind of a love betrayal, because they're in the Magus, he's playing with the kids' emotions. He essentially has a woman, playing a part. She's an actress pretending to fall in love with this kid, but he's unaware that he's acting a part. So he's actually falling in love with this girl, but she's just an actress. And so it's really like, it's a bit of a mind game.
Yeah, no, for sure. I already see a lot of similarities and undertones of both of these novels. And I think it's great how they keep giving us more novels, and I hope they continue this trend, the writers. And you have to think that they're doing it on purpose, and I like that the writers are giving us the elements of where they're going to, because citizen detectives like us are going to find these little things and evaluate them. So
and
thank you, Showtime.
Reading a book real quick to get up to speed on what's going on, or see what the inspiration of these things come from, and try and like deep dive deeper and try to find. I mean,
I dropped the link as well, everyone, that the one that Aaron and I have both been listening to this week. There's 3 parts. I didn't finish all of it, but I know she did. So life, #life.
But it's a quick, easy, if you just put it on while you're like doing dishes or whatever. It's actually like pretty entertaining. I enjoy listening to like radio show style.
And Charles dance.
Yeah, and then Charles he totally like sucks you in, because he has such like just a soothing voice, So okay. Oh, interesting. So the remark Walter made about living on his boat, the need to be able to travel without a passport, perfect for a kill and flee situation. That's a good point.
Can I say Luna and I both, or Cascade and I both have mermaids?
You have what?
Both have mermaids as our profile pictures.
Oh, nice.
Well, hers isn't a mermaid. Hers is the um God, well, it's like a mix. What is it? What is that like a particular goddess, Luna Cascade? Or
Tell us about your stuff there.
yeah, it looks like an Indian type thing.
Okay, so let me check our notes here. So,
Let's talk about Walter and Misty.
all right, let me pull up the
Because
picture then. You
oh
go.
my gosh. So first off, the scene with them going to the hotel, 2 rooms, and it's so 90s how they did the vibe, how they did the split juxtaposition screens, and they're doing like the same thing on both sides. It just to me that was classic like videography and photo shoots. And like you remember during them with editing and all of the factors we had, that was a big deal if you could split screens. I don't know if you guys remember The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica, how they did a split screen. They had, that was kind of yeah, it was just
Yeah.
cool to see. And I died. I don't know about you guys, but I died when they're brushing their teeth and you can tell their like habits and their little mannerisms that set them apart, and how they're both crazy but detective wise.
Mhm.
The lights, looking at everything, and
Yeah,
then the
technical
best part was Misty putting on the eye things, and then Walter coming up with the whole face. Like, I'm the ghoul. And I think Elijah Wood is just having so much fun with this role, and
he
I
is so
kudos to
precious.
him for breaking out of the Hobbit. Like, I don't see him as my Hobbitsy Hobbit. Like, I don't see him as that anymore. He's Walter now. I mean, yes,
I,
obviously he will always be, Frodo, but
he's always Frodo Baggins, but I'm a huge Elijah Wood fan. Honestly, I always have been. Like since I was a kid, I've always loved Elijah Wood. Going back to like The Good Son, Mr. Highway, and like just he did excellent movies. When we were growing up, he is so classic for our
what
age group. So the fact that like they hire him, they cast him as Christina Ricci's
yeah.
sort of love interest is like literally it's the ship of
Perfect.
dreams.
Exactly, it is. It's gotta have great expectations. What's in this basket? But hey, chat, let me know what's your favorite Elijah Wood, because there's a few of them. Like, he has a lot of really good movies before he played in The Hobbit, or before he
Or
played in Lord of the
Wilfred.
Rings.
I mean, I'm always a huge fan of Wilfred. Also, that show was excellent. Okay, I loved this shot because they have what's in their basket? Sunshine honey. What? So from the
Oh
purple people
shoot!
eaters.
I never even noticed that either. Good, good job, citizen detective.
Citizen detective-ing, yeah. So we've got our sunshine honey, but yeah, I mean, these two, they're so weird. And also, like Walter, I swear to God, I was so Misty in this scene where he's sitting there and he's like putting all of his things, and then he puts mustard, and she lost it. Do not do mustard in front of me. I have a mustard and pickles. I don't
Oh my gosh!
have an
See,
issue
I love
with
that.
these.
Are we the sun and the moon? But I love that. I won't do mayonnaise though. I bet you're a
Oh, I
mayonnaise
like
lover.
mayonnaise.
I
That's
know.
valid.
I bet you are.
I am a mayonnaise condiment person.
Don't be so cliche.
Oh my God, I hate mustard. It makes me uncomfortable. But
Mm.
so like when he's putting that on his stuff, I was just like, oh, and then Misty's like, stop it. That was so mean. But yeah, they're so funny here. They, so they're searching for and they are so much alike. Except for that, like Misty's like, no, we're gonna ask about, where the purple people purple people are. And Walter's like, no, we should play it cool. Now, do you guys think there's anything suspicious about the fact that Walter's like trying to play it cool, and he's sort of, I don't know, to me it kind of seemed like he was just sort of
He's
laying
like
it on
leading.
thick, where he's like, no, don't ask, like, let's keep it more secret, more discreet. Maybe he's trying to like, draw out their time together. But also, I kind of feel like he knew what was going on. Like they just so happened to be there on Tuesday, exactly when the market is, kind of thing.
And they just so happened to have this. He knew a good a good hotel where they serve
Mm-hmm.
the honey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is the area though, so it makes sense. But at the same time, like he had all the musical tapes.
Yeah. And Misty, her spidey senses are tingling. Like she's not and I think that's a huge thing with like Coach Ben also, because she's been lied to. She's very skeptical of people. And she's not going to let some man have access to her heart where he's going to break her heart again. I
Well,
think that Walter and Coach Ben are like running on very parallel stories.
but
This,
differently though, I think too, because like
yeah,
Walter's feeding her ego, where Coach Ben is like, fine, Missy, but like telling her no. Coach Ben would say no, like Missy, that's inappropriate, no. And where Walter's like, oh, you're okay, yeah, I see you, or oh, that's not the most interesting thing about you that you're a yellow jacket, and like he's feeding her ego and giving her the attention that she never got, and that
yeah.
she's eating, like she's like, oh, let me be hesitant and weary, but she doesn't ever get attention like that, so she's kind of like blushing, and you see her in the car like, okay, and it's throwing her off her game, and I think he knows he's doing it.
Yeah, I think he's like
Manipulative.
God, and then you have to wonder, like, yeah, if he's our Miss Havisham, like, what does he know?
Oh
Does he
my,
know things about like Misty's past, or like, and that's kind of the thing that ties into also where I think Lottie might be pulling the strings for like all of the girls coming back to her sort of cult compound and reuniting there. Because if that was the case, if Walter is familiar with Lottie, then she may have filled him in on like Misty's, secrets, or like Misty's relationship with Coach Ben, because the girls are aware of that at this point, that like Misty had a thing for Coach Ben and he's gay. So yeah. So that didn't really work out. And like
Look,
Misty was always
there's
like, I
all
have a
different
secret
kinds of love,
boyfriend. And,
okay?
yeah.
There's all different kinds of love.
Yeah. But I don't know. So I think that those two are running on parallel story arcs this season, and whatever
For sure.
happens in the end is going to be similar to what happens in the end for the other one.
Mhm.
Um
I agree. I agree, and it's going to be tied into the Magus and Great Expectations during the storylines, I think, as well.
yeah, and I think it's going to really fundamentally change Misty too. I think it's going to have a profound effect on her.
But
um
what is the two characters that he tells her at last episode that I'm looking for the Sherlock Holmes characters?
oh, he
I'm
said,
sorry, the Great
maybe I'm just a
Expectations.
bored
Magus.
Moriarty searching for my Sherlock.
So, but maybe like that's the juxtaposition between him and Coach Ben. You could see it like that instead of her and Misty. Like you could see their storylines, you know, because I feel like I said, like one is feeding her, the other one's stopping her.
Well, that's
So,
that's the thing too with the Moriarty comment, because Moriarty and Sherlock were nemesis. So
yeah.
he sort of subtly told her, like, I'm looking for my nemesis. I'm
I
not looking for like my partner, or like my
mean,
love.
but it could be like that, like yin and yang, dualism, black and
Maybe
white.
there's
Like you
some
gotta have both. You
others.
gotta have. There is a whole thing about accepting your masculine, feminine side, the dualism. So, and I'm all about dualism. So, that
Yeah.
is a like equal partner pair, and it could be like a love thing too, or it could be a mischievous thing. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. Woo!
Oh, interesting. Luna says that he could be hired by Paul. Otherwise, why are we seeing
Paul.
stuff already? Wait, we already know about Ben. Hired by Paul.
I think,
Otherwise,
well, okay, so I think that they're showing this stuff about Ben because they're showing Ben's vulnerability right now. They're showing his weaknesses, and especially the comment, like I said earlier, about him not really giving into that sentimental side, not really giving into that whole love. Him saying, "Oh, I don't want to go with all these girls. They're brats. Or he says they're like demons. What is it?
Mhm.
I don't know what the word he says exactly last season, but he than he does, and we're seeing a lot more of the inner deep thing. And I also think that they wanted to show what it was like for a 90s gay man, especially being
Mhm.
a coach back then. And I think that's, we have a lot of tones in that, and how hard it was in the 90s for him. And I think that
Yeah.
Showtime's trying to make a big point about that, tastefully. So
Yeah. It's a good point. I don't know. It's difficult to say. Maybe Paul hired him, but honestly, it just kind of depends on like if Coach Ben makes it out of the woods, because I don't think
Paul,
Paul would really bother with them.
I don't think
Uh,
Paul's got money like that. I
yeah,
mean, I
and
don't
I
know,
don't think
but
after all is said and done, like maybe depending on what happens to Ben, like if they were like, oh, we ate him, but it doesn't seem like they're like out, talking about that as much. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's something to
or
mull.
maybe Walter is a millionaire because he helped make the plane crash happen and sacrifice all these, this whole virgin sacrifice on a plane crash thing. Like, trust me, there's theories out there, but like,
There's all kinds
the
of,
elite, the Illuminati sacrifice. Like, I don't know.
I'm sticking with my, Walter is Adam's brother or Adam's best friend now. I'm broadening my horizons to maybe he's Adam's best friend, but definitely 1,000,000%. My theory stands strong that Walter is connected to Adam. Like he knows him. They're brothers. They're,
Adam's
they're brothers or they're
benefactor.
best friends, but 1,000,000%. And I think also like when Misty lied, and she says, oh, I knew Mrs. Martin, yada, yada. Like Walter knew that she was full of crap. He knew she was lying. He could, it was written all over his face that he didn't believe her. So I think,
but then he told her quick, oh no, that was a lie. Like, so he's manipulating her. But he could be that the mysterious anonymous benefactor.
Exactly. This is why it's like kind of Miss Havisham vibes. It's like, what is your end game, dude? So I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Let's move on to
Missy. I love her. I love
you want to see Crystal for a minute?
I do.
Crystal, okay. She is
look
precious.
At her face there.
Crystal are really precious together. We love them.
Okay, do we think that Crystal is a real person or Misty's imaginary friend?
Personally, I like that theory. I think she's.
I love it.
I know you do, but I don't.
I love it. I know there's theories out there that Misty is an imaginary friend, and even Walter might be an imaginary friend that Misty is conjuring because she has no friends. But I don't think that Walter is. But I do feel like she might be. But it's just a fun theory. So
yeah. It's a silly one. I don't know. I don't even really know like where it comes from because I think, there's a lot of outrageous stuff going on and like imaginary friends kind of seems like a little, I don't know. Maybe that one's just too much for me, but I'll take.
I mean, have you had imaginary friends though? Like I did. I had an imaginary friend when I was a kid. It was a lady in a bubble. It was like a bubble lady. Like I used to, when I was a kid, I used to be like, oh, the bubble lady's here. And my mom would be like, what? But I remember like I had this like bubble lady and I think it was maybe spawned off the Wizard of Oz, but it was like a lady in a bubble coming in. So it was my friend, the bubble lady.
I didn't have imaginary friends, but I would try and like, I'd collect bugs or like, animals or,
Did you eat them?
Constantly like taking care of little animals and that kind of thing.
Were you peeling off their flesh?
No. No.
I know, because listen, she lives in the woods. Don't let her fool you. She lives up in the middle of nowhere, and I know she's out there collecting little bones and skulls on her hikes.
I will not lie. I have bones right here. I have so many bones. I collect bones like obsessively. Like I don't know what it is, but I really like to collect bones. So yeah, I do have a lot of bones.
Yeah, you'd probably be pulling out the skins and Jackie chicharrones. So we have I just want to off segment for a second, but we're going to do a cookbook. We want to do a Yellowjackets cookbook, but probably not during the season, but after. But one of our ones, Jackie Fruit and Jackie chicharrones, because I don't know if you guys know, I'm from Miami, but I'm in Texas now, but Jackie, the skin is pulled off, and that's how they make chicharrones. So Jackie roans, Jackie Chica roans. I don't know. Something like that.
We've got a lot of different ideas.
And what else do we have? Yeah, we have like Callie's veggie burgers, Jeff's
strawberry jam. Yeah.
Wait, let me read. Yeah, the jam.
Maybe we'll have to do starling soup or something.
Yeah, starling soup for sure. And if you guys have any ideas for the cookbook, write us out. Come to the Faye Fire page. Follow her on Twitter. She's on Faye Fire on everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the one that I had written was Jeff's Franks and Beans. The adulterous spice adds to the nice crispy skin of the meat.
Mhm.
Lean back and listen to Last Resort while you're making this. This is like kind of a rough draft. Lean back and listen to Last Resort while making this lovely meal. But beware, it might cause a big flame, not just in life, but in your relationship. The adulterous spice really adds to the crispy skin. Don't forget to burn it all the way. Otherwise, you'll have evidence. Like, it's just some,
Exactly.
funny
No prints
wordplay.
left behind.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so let's move on.
Cooked over melting plastic identification cards.
Yeah, no, please do not add plastic is not edible. Please only use it.
Oh
So
god.
wait, smoke it over a diaries of pain and your ex's ID. Or like instead of cedar smoke or something. I don't know.
I got you, Miss T. We'll
Hey,
definitely
Miss
make something with honey in it.
T.
For
Miss
sure.
T.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Miss
all
T.
right. Delcinia asks Fayfire, what if he's following up on behalf of Jessica Roberts? Um, I hadn't thought of
Ooh,
that, and I think
lover.
that maybe I should rewatch that scene in Jessica's apartment and just take a there's probably some hints in there. Maybe just look around because I think they like flash through like there's like some family photos and that kind of thing. I don't I don't know. I don't think so personally because I don't even think Ty realizes okay, actually no, I don't think so because I don't even think Ty realizes that Jessica is dead at this point, but also there's the on their little like citizen detective forum there is a thread that is about Jessica and her they call her the Parsippany poisoner or something like that. And so I don't actually I feel like if it was Walter checking up on Jessica, he would have been following that thread or commenting on that thread versus commenting on the Adam one. So personally, I don't think that it has to do with Jessica. Um, Although I would like to see like something come about Jessica's death or like Ty figuring it out or whatever. Because it was kind of interesting that like she just goes to her house. We saw that fugue state Ty where
Actually,
she
let's talk
went
about that.
yeah where she went to her house and kind of broke in and just went and got her documents and um also it is interesting so I made a note about this. Jessica has that huge file on she has a huge file on the Yellowjackets
Well,
and
I
granted
think it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no well granted Ty had hired her to look into all of them and that kind of thing but I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that she had such a big file. Do you think there's something more to it? And also, they even replay that clip where Jessica says, "Oh, some of you guys just love living off the grid." And that just made me laugh so much because literally these people live in New York and New Jersey. And granted, I know there's like upstate New York, but upstate New York is sorry, I'm from like the Pacific Northwest. So like for me, I'm like, you guys, you're in the city. Even if you're in upstate New York, you're like a few minutes away from the city. So like, come on, the biggest city in America. Like I don't care if you live in the boonies 3 hours away from the biggest city in America, you're still like in the same state. So
See, like, I disagree because I'm from the Midwest originally, but like when I moved to Miami and now I'm living in suburbs of Texas and I feel like I'm in the boons. I'm like, I need the city again. So, well,
no,
actually,
I'm like
I either need full
literally
on city or like full on cabin in the woods. Like, I'm so opposite.
I'm all about cabin in the woods lifestyle, So it just seems so funny to me. Like, yeah, I guess Lottie, because I think we've unanimously decided that Lottie is, in the Poconos. That's like where her compound is.
The Poconos.
But like again, the Poconos is like
Yeah,
Pennsylvania, like right
the
in
rich
like
part. Yeah,
Pennsylvania, New
the
York
nice part.
area. So I just feel like it's not that like rural, where they're at. It's not off the grid per se. And also she's like, "Oh, some of you guys love living off the grid except for Van literally owns a store." So, all this like off the grid talk. No, none of these people are off the grid. They all like live in close proximity to each other. And, it's kind of funny. Like that was another common theme that was like even said throughout this episode is they talk about they're in a small town. Like Jeff says that him and Shauna live in a small town gossip. And then Misty and Walter say, oh, in small towns, everybody knows who the weirdos are. It's just so funny to me that they think they're in like these small towns, but they're like in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I'm just like, you guys are not in small towns. You're in the middle of the city. And,
well, I think
you're not like living off the grid. If you guys want to be off grid, then go back to the wilderness. But yeah, like
I think she means off grid more so like you don't have that much documentation on you. Like you're not leaving a paper trail. You're not on the internet that much. They're kind of like staying out of the limelight because they had all that limelight. And like, I also want to talk about this tie thing. I'm gonna call it like her switching. I think she has switching personalities. Obviously, the tree tie. Was that what we're gonna call her? I don't know. But tree tie, she's the one that's in Jessica's apartment. Like I think she wakes up to that scene like she's remembering it because she didn't know it. Like, and there's psychological trauma that you end up putting like blocking out whole memories of these things when you have different personalities like that in alters. So it's her alter, and she goes completely. Tree tie takes over, and Tree tie had malicious intent with Jessica, that she wanted to use Jessica as her like toy. Hey, let's get her to do all the work, get all the stuff we need. She probably fed her, and that's why she has a tie. She probably gave her a lot of the information. And like when Ty was like, oh, I don't really know what's going on, it might have been her switching. So it made me think like, wait, in those times we thought Ty was conscious, was she? Was that actually was it tree tie or was it regular tie? Because in my mind, I think she definitely has like I said, the personality switch. So it makes me think about it more and look more on those details. And I do think we should go back and dwell on the citizen detective, that scene some more as well, because I think there are probably a lot of clues in that folder or little quick things that we can snapshot.
Yeah, I think, well, another interesting thing about the folder that had all the information, Ty left it in her car. Like, to be clear, I watched that scene over and over again to see if like the stuff she grabs out of her car, she left the folder in the car that has all of that information in it about all of them, where they all live, yada, yada. The only person obviously that she was interested in was Van and getting to Van. So like, she's got that in her phone. She left that folder. So I'm like, is that going to come into play later in the season? Is somebody else going to find it?
Or does she even realize it? Like, that's tree tie. Like she said, like Luna says, Ty's personality tell when she switches, it's like a quick eye blink and you have this whole thing. And like, she's like, she doesn't even realize that's an important factor. Or I think she's so distraught at that point. Like how the hell did I end up here in the middle of nowhere? Like she looks at her phone like, what? And she's halfway in between point A and B in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, it's kind of it's going to be interesting when she starts putting it back together. And now that she's starting to put it back together, I love where that's going to go, because again, they're dealing with this conflict. She's starting to try to get control, and it's crazy because there she is on the side of the road walking, feeling aimlessly like, okay, I guess I'm going to see Van. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. All these emotions, all these things. And then here comes a semi truck. And then she's like kind of scared to get in there. Oh yeah, well, I voted for you. Hello, Senator. How are you doing?
He's like, if senators can have a bad day, then, and so bless that guy for coming along and, little guardian angel.
Oh my God, that pen. Hello. I want that pen. We need to find that pen.
The pen was epic. Oh my God. So like throwback. Cause we all have seen those, like, well, probably back in the 90s is when you would see those kind of things. And so
yeah, like the Sailor Jerry kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's so funny. Okay, let's see.
Oh, and Huff mentions it's not even her car. She took the assistance. That's true. Like, Ty is so...
Great point.
She's so... Like, I wonder was that evil Ty or not. And you know what I would love if I was Ty? I would just blame it all on evil Ty anyway. I'd be like, oh, that's evil.
Yeah,
like, even
if
a guy...
like, that's not going to look good for her either. Like, the whole thing with Simone last season when she's like, I'll go to the, or I think it was in episode 1, she's like, I'll go to the press, yada yada, which I think was like pretty messed up personally, but also, it's kind of interesting, like, yeah, like
Like the
she
dog
can't really
scene.
admit like exactly what's going on. And I think actually I had this thought of like maybe because we kind of know that they all end up at Lottie's compound. So maybe Ty goes under the pretense of like, oh, I'm going to like this healing retreat kind of thing. I'm going to like this, like maybe she doesn't say, oh, this is Lottie's place. Maybe she paints it as she's going to like get help kind of thing. Was a thought I had.
Maybe, or she just like does like I think she knows, but she doesn't know. But I like the switching thing, like a couple where she gets the dog. I love that scene though, because she's like there and all the dogs are barking. She's like, whatever, I don't have time for this. And then she's like, I'll take that. It's like a butcher market. It's like, oh, I'll take this. And then she finds a dog butcher. Oh my God. And then the dog, oh, I'm not gonna let that happen to you. Don't worry. Like it's like, whoa. Okay, run. Simone has the right idea.
Yeah.
But she's
Totally.
so like, I think also like Van helping to say, oh, it's not you. Ty hasn't really taken full responsibility of her doing those things, and she's kind of gotten always out of it, or always made notion or situation like, hey, if things are going my way, let me break this teen girl's leg. Let's do it. Like, let me take initiative to get whatever I need done, but in a psychopathic way.
Yeah, I mean, well, Ty is definitely like dad vibes, is what I always say. And especially we saw like this really quick shot in this episode where Ty is sitting next to Travis. And what are they doing? She
I
says
want to.
it was something about the hunt, like the hunting, and like when Mari's sort of like instigating an argument or whatever, and she's like, oh, it's about the birds. She's like, the birds did not, Lottie didn't get the birds. The birds just flew into the house. And I loved it because, she's so dad vibes. Like she just sits there. She's like all logic. She's like, Lottie didn't get the birds. They like flew into the house kind of thing. And, and she's sitting there with Travis. And then Travis is also kind of coming into his own dad energy because of the whole thing with Javi later in the episode. So I just really loved, it's just like a really quick shot of those two sitting together, but they look so dad energy just sitting there together.
Yeah.
It cracked me up.
Alana Karp says, I think the wilderness has a cycle and it's 25. And that's why Lottie and Ty are experiencing the visions and sleepwalking. 1996, Ty is bad and Lottie is good. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of good and bad in all the characters. It's kind of hard, but yes, the juxtapositions are definitely there. Um, and you want to feed on the juxtaposition between Lottie and Nat normally, but I think that that's a good point that we have to look at the juxtaposition between the two of them, because Ty is telling Van like, no, it's none of Lottie's business. I'm not going to do it, and she doesn't want to give in to Lottie either, but in her own way. And it's surprising me that Nat and Ty haven't teamed up against Lottie yet. You know, but Nat's a one-on-one. One-on-one. That's a one-on-one type of person. She's always been a loner. But I think that, like I said, Van is always there helping to, tell Ty that it's okay, or what you're doing is okay, or just helping to what's give her what's what I'm looking for, encouragement, or not encouragement, just helping to be there for her, where it's like, Nat doesn't really have anyone to help her. But I like the whole 25 years idea. We're gonna have to look into that too. I'm making a note.
That's an interesting, I don't know why 25 might be a distinct number for them, but maybe like if we look at numerology, 2 and 5 is 7 sort of like a, mystical number. But I don't know. There's, they did say like in season 1, I want to say Ty said something like, oh, all the crazy people come out of the woodwork on the, the big anniversaries. So my question with that is, have they experienced something in the past, like maybe on the 10-year anniversary or the 20-year? Did they have like, fanboys, Yellowjacket fanboys, popping up, or weird things that happen, or like sort of ritualistic energy kind of thing? Who knows? We know like Shauna says she hadn't seen Ty in 20 years when she showed up at her house in season 1. But so obviously, like, as a group, they haven't like done anything ritualistic on any sort of anniversary. But yeah, could it be at the
Well,
25-year mark? That's a good question.
now you got my brain. You got me going down the rabbit hole. Okay, so the old growth forest on Wikipedia right now, and just a quick Google, it says that they define it as an old growth forest of 250 years, so 25 development. An old growth forest, 250 years, some reaching more than 1,000. So, but we can look at it. I'll look into this more, and we'll talk about it more next episode or next week. But I definitely like that idea of something, because it's obviously the forest is where you die, live, grow, and they're giving all the blood sacrifices, they're giving the heart, they're giving everything to the dead tree, the tree that's fallen over, to the root. But like when a tree falls over, and that creates the roots of a new tree. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think definitely Tai, being tree Tai, the lady in the tree, there's definitely more symbolism with that, 100%. Maybe we can make a separate video about that.
This
Tree
is a great
tie,
comment,
tree cycles.
Mrs. Oh, and Dark Maven, elaborate on your comment before that was about Shauna messing up this episode. Mrs. Duncan the Tall says, can we talk about the store that Van owns being called While You Were Streaming, being a callback to While You Were Sleeping being Ty's favorite movie? Also, most of their relationship happens while she's sleeping. And I love that. That's actually a really great
While You Were
there.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that a 90s movie, While You Were Sleeping?
Yeah. Well, and I think in season 1, Tai says something like that's her favorite movie, and they're like kind of talking about it.
Really?
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the fact that she names her store that is just so sweet, so romantic. Those two, and the thing is like they are deeply connected to each other. And we saw like in this episode with Van, she's really she is really concerned about Tai. She wants to go to Lottie. She wants to talk about, what's going on with her and try and figure it out, because she knows, like, obviously, I mean, we have this great scene where like Van's been following her around, making this map. And then it turns out it's a larger map of, the symbol, which is something that I kind of speculated on, was that like, this is a map and that's what it comes down to. So,
but could it be the symbol? I mean, like, and then how Tai says, hey, that's nothing. You can just make a shape anywhere you want. But
so my thought is like, there's the one spot that they were missing, that they hadn't found the symbol for that spot. And so she was like, let's go out and look for it. And that's when they found Javi. So do we think maybe that very last spot is significant? Maybe that's the bunker. Maybe that's, like maybe that's the bunker where Javi was hiding out. So we didn't see the bunker, but we saw Javi, because maybe that's like where he sneaks out of or emerges from. We also saw Van. She found that spot, much like what Nat had seen when she found the one tree, but where the snow was kind of melting and stuff. And we kind of talked about maybe there's something underneath that's melting the snow. So if there's the underground bunker that's, melting the snow and ice. Yeah. So, and Van and Tai. Yeah, Van and Tai found the same thing this episode. So, kind of interesting. What are you?
I love the map. We were gonna do. I wanted to do. I told Aaron I wanted to do it, but I didn't do it. Sorry, but I wanted to do where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, but like where in the forest is Javi? Kind of like follow the map. So not all these 90s references. So.
Oh my God! You know what I just noticed right now is, and I don't know if this is significant or not, the color of the string that Van is using is purple. Hey. Purple heliotrope. So,
yeah, like where did they even get yellow? Where'd they get that in the middle of the forest?
Totally. But so my thought that I kind of had during this scene was like, or sort of the interactions with Tai and Van is, I'm wondering, like, Van keeps pushing to go and talk to Lottie about it. Do we think that she's going to go and talk to Lottie behind Tai's back? Because we did have sort of, once they found Javi, Van was like, yeah, Lottie believed he was alive, but Tai was the one that found where he was, or whatever she says. So do you think that Van's going to go and try and talk to Lottie more about the details of this behind Tai's back? And do you think that's going to create like a divide between them at all?
Yeah, I think that there's been a divide between them because of the just realizations of, hey, am I going to believe in something or am I going to fight against it and say like, no, I'm not giving into that? And I think that that's where they lost. And I'm excited to see the storyline between those two in, the 90s or in the cabin storyline, just to see how now Lottie has the power, Javi's back, all these things. But now, not only does Van believe in Lottie, now she believes in Ty. And she's made it a point and it's stated. And it's like, but Ty had something to do with it. And so it's going to grow. And is that going to come into the mind of Ty? Is she going to like continue? I think that that's where the tree lady is going to spawn from more. Like she's there already, like showing Van things. And that's why she's like, go to Van, because she wants to be heard. But the tree lady is like suppressed in Ty and she's trying to let it out. And I think that that's where we're going to see a lot of growth in that, altar of Ty.
My
But
thought
let me,
too.
oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say also, like, we might, like, if we see Van go to talk to Lottie behind Ty's back, are we also going to see that happen in the adult version, in the adult timeline? So like now that Ty
Yeah.
has gone back to Van's, like, do Van and Lottie still have a relationship? Are they still connected? And is she going to call her up and be like, okay, I've got Ty? Because my thought is, again, going back to the idea that maybe Lottie's behind all of it and she's sort of triggering all these things. We talked about potentially that it may be Lottie or her people that set up the altar under Ty's house because she doesn't remember doing it. Granted, she seemed, spiritually like affected by it when she saw it, but she didn't actually remember setting it up. So like we kind of speculated maybe it could have been Lottie's people that went down there and they're sort of setting up these things to kind of trigger the girls to come to her compound or bring them all back together kind of thing. But so if Van, is that person for, like, if she's sort of the go-between with Ty and Lottie, then perhaps, that was sort of the goal all along. Let's trigger
Yeah.
Ty, get her, mind going crazy, like really mess her up. And she's going to go to Van. We know she's going to go to Van. She's not going to go to Lottie's. She's not going to go and say, Lottie, I need help. I'm losing my mind. No, she's going to go to Van. Van's the only person that knows what she's going through. She's the only person that's been through it with her. And so, maybe this is the goal all along, and maybe Lottie and Van are still like in cahoots, and that's just another way of getting another girl into the compound.
I definitely think that, and we have that episode, the scene where Lottie's putting the heart inside the stump, where it's Van and Misty, and on both sides of them. And I think that Misty, like when she found out, where she's going, it wasn't a surprise to her, and she knows what she's gonna find. And I do think that Van is still in cahoots with her. I agree. I want, but you know what I want to see? I want to see next episode. I want to see Van having like a hot, girlfriend, and Ty being jealous, and Ty, because you always see Ty as a very dominant person, but like her jealousy might bring out something. But it's okay. It's probably okay for Ty to be remarried and everything because they're adults and they're grown and everything. But as soon as she sees Vans with another woman, she's probably gonna get crazy,
No, I'm
crazier.
pretty sure there is like a woman that's cast like as one of Van's like friends
Love
or whatever.
it.
I don't know if it's going to be her girlfriend or just maybe like an employee or something like that, but that would be interesting to see. Okay, so let me go back. Dark Maven, she had okay, so she said Shauna had messed up this episode by telling Callie the truth. You don't tell a kid anything ever. That's basic parents. That's haunting 101.
Oh wait, actually I put that in our notes that we're not looking at.
I think Jay and Kevin both will end up unalived. I definitely think Jay is like asking for it. Like, first of all, I mean, there's yeah. He's
Jay,
their
pig girl plot twist.
Yeah, they must have nice calves.
We actually talked about this in the beginning of the stream too, Dark Maven. I know you weren't here yet. We had talked about like, hey, why the heck is Shauna lying to everyone but telling her audacious teen brat daughter that she's the truth that she killed people. So it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's a weird, it's like,
Well, that and the point we made earlier too is that like Shauna, Jackie in the shed is saying, "Oh, you're gonna lie to your unborn baby," and I think that like Shauna has this whole thing about lying to her kid, and where it's okay, it's for her to justify all the other lies, but she's not gonna want to lie to her kid. So I don't want to repeat all everything, but that was the gist. You're on mute, baby.
we talked about Shauna in the beginning of the stream. She was kind of our first character. But yeah, I think that, like, you know, it goes back to like with her and Jeff and just lying all in general. Like they, you know, they are trying to become more honest, but it's almost like it's every time they're more honest with one another, it comes around and bites them in the ass even harder. But then, like, I don't know, because Jeff is also still lying. You know, he says, "Oh, they were just talking about it in the gym." He doesn't mention that he went and like confronted them because it doesn't make them look good. It makes them look really bad that he lost his cool and went and like confronted Kevin in the gym and made things look even worse. And so right now it's almost like he's letting Shauna dig her own grave almost, which is terrible. But okay, so I do want to talk about, we have this lovely Instagram story from Liv Hewson, who plays young Van, and they posted the middle names that the girls all came up with for each other, which I just thought was really funny. So Van is Vanessa Ann Palmer. Taissa is Taissa Audrey Turner. Shauna Marie. That seems, you know. Charlotte Isabel Matthews. Natalie something Catholic Scatorcio. And Misty Elane Quigley. And I loved this because this is yet another nod to Misty and her Arthurian roots, because I really think she's like following that Arthurian inspiration. And of course, there is Elane of Benwick. Well, there's two Elaines. Actually, there's three Elaines in Arthurian legend, but so I just loved it. Our Misty, Mist of Avalon, and Elane, the Lady of Shalott is Elane. So anyhow, but we have a lot of other ideas too with their names because they just all have such symbolism, I think, kind of interwoven in their names. So should we talk about this a little bit? What do you think?
Yeah, I was just writing in the chat. I think it's something Catholic, and that made me laugh. I think I have a joke with a friend of mine. His name's Ricky Ricardo, actually. I swear to God, his mom was a fan. But we have carnations, and I think there's something so Catholic about carnations. So just something Catholic. But I guess I think what you said was right. Like just a little nods and hues to the fun. I think it's cool that the girls are doing that and getting more into their writing than they need to be, and getting more into perspective and character as well. So.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of, okay, so we talked about Misty. She's kind of got the Mists of Avalon theme to her name. And with Nat, I think like her name is an anagram because I think, you know, we talked so much about Nat being like, you know, her symbolism, her connection with the white moose and potentially being like the chosen one. You know, they talked about in season 1 that Nat is the reason that they got out of there. But also Nat is so like, you know, kind of dark coded, like, you know, she's so she's the anti-hero, and so her name Nat is an anagram of anti, in my opinion. So I think Nat is the anti-hero. I think Ty is the tiebreaker, but also she ties herself to Van, so I think they're kind of playing with that idea. And then Van is the vanguard. You know, she's always protecting. She's protecting Ty. She's potentially protecting Lottie at this point in the older years. So I just love that. You know, with Lottie, I put her as like casting lots, which is sort of, you know, an old term for making a chance decision using divination. So like drawing straws, casting pebbles, you know, who gets the longest stick kind of thing. That's the idea of casting lots. So I thought that was really, you know, makes a lot of sense with her. but also Charlotte's Web, because she's kind of got her own like crazy web of whatever going on. Web of lies, web of mystery, web of like, I don't know, dead bees. um Shauna is the one I'm not so sure about, because I'm still like, she's like, so her name's a little funny. I couldn't really stem it back to anything specific. Her name means God is gracious. Um, I also had the thought of Sean, because, and somebody made the comment in here about Servant, which I used to cover, and Sean is one of the main characters in Servant, and he's so connected with serpent symbolism, and so I always kind of like did the like Sean, like the S sound, like a snake. So I don't know. Lauren Ambrose was in Servant, aka our adult band. So if you guys want to,
You're reaching. But
I
yeah,
know. I'm
like I
super
said,
reaching on that one. That's why I didn't like Shauna's. I'm like, Shauna's hard. And then for Mari, I just put calamari because she's great,
yeah, for
So
sure.
that's my thoughts. And then, but my major thoughts now, I want to share this with you guys. And here we're going to nerd out. Here's the symbolism. So prepare yourself, get a cup of tea. And this is going to go back to some Lilith.
We're going another hour. No, just kidding.
No, we're just going to go to the Lilith symbolism, which you guys know I love to talk about, because like going back to Servant again, a lot of you guys were watching from my Servant lives. We talked a lot about Lilith in that. Now, I had this idea that the children, the Yellowjackets, we have Callie and we have Sammy, and then potentially Lisa. Like, I feel like Lisa has a very, like, she's, whether or not she's somehow blood related to anyone or not, she has, like, Lottie seems to have a very maternal, relationship with her. Like when she was going out with Nat, she was like, make sure and let her drive. She needs the practice and yada yada. So she's very like maternal to her. Now, here's my thought. Okay. So we have Callie, Lisa, and Sammy. Okay. And so I'm thinking, of course, in my mind of the Lilitu, which we talked a lot about, which are the demonic offspring of Lilith. Lilith being, the primordial she demoness, but also the first woman and first wife of Adam. So, and her demonic offspring are called the Lilitu. And so I'm thinking like Callie, Lisa, and Lilith's consort is Samael. So we have Sammy. So come on. I don't know. Am I reaching on that one? I don't feel like I am.
Okay, well, yeah, no, that's what we do. We reach. That's our point, is we're here to reach and go on those rabbit holes. I think it's really cool actually that you noticed that and you were trying to benefit their names and stuff and trying to mix. Like, yeah, it was fun, and I see it. I can see it. I don't think you're reaching, but it's wild, but so is the show.
It is. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like the show itself maybe stemmed back to like Lilith mythology, but I do like the idea that we could be looking, because I do have, the girls seem to embody a lot of goddess symbolism. And so if we look at like their children being sort of demonic offspring unleashed upon the world, it doesn't necessarily have to be like Lilith, but it could just be kind of stemming back to like all of the girls having sort of goddess energy in their
For sure.
experiences. So
no, for sure, they definitely do, and then we're seeing that during the feast, and Romans friends, countrymen, they're throwing it all in there, and they're throwing a lot of just works from Shakespeare to the Magus to Charles Dickens to everything, and they're playing and taking notes from all of this, and that's why it's so brilliant. It really is. And if you see these connections and symbolisms, if you know the references, I mean, obviously it's not one whole storyline that they're stealing anything from, but they're mixing so many wonderful storylines and so many things that if you see the symbolism, it's totally there and it's amazing. Like, it's, I don't see anything as a reach. And I do believe each of them has like a goddess or god derivative. I want to talk, they're talking a lot about the family and holding back in the chat about the family characters. So, and I do think that that's part of what we're going to get in further episodes, because we do want to see Shauna's parents and Ty's parents. I love that we got, but the one we did get was Nat's with the
Mhm.
gun, and that was a huge, drastic scene.
Yeah.
Drastic. And I was like crying. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, poor Nat.
Well, you can see why, Nat is the way she is. That
Hmm.
was something so final. She didn't have time to toy with spirituality or anything like that. That all happened so quickly and instantaneously that like there's no, and her father seemed like such a cruel person anyways, that like Nat probably just doesn't have patience for any kind of sort of woo woo kind of energy. She's just, that was sort of eliminated out of her because she had an abusive father and then he like accidentally shot himself. And there's just no like wiggle room with any of that, you know? So I think
And
that she, that's why she is so like, that's why she's so huntress coded, I guess you might say. Whereas Lottie, has the time to be spiritual and think about, the meaning behind things, or energy behind things, or that just working with energy in
yeah,
general. And that's
and,
just not that person. She's had too much trauma in her life.
and we get that little juxtaposition about Travis's parents, and we think that
Mhm.
maybe they're going to divorce. We are speculating that maybe mom's pregnant, and that Walter could be the younger brother, or Lisa could be the younger sister or
Yeah,
something. Um, we also but we get very little of their parent, and then we get that very little bit of Lottie's parents, but it's enough to let us know. Can you fix her? Like, it's enough to let us know the family dynamic for sure. And
yeah.
and I think Misty's origins, Dacia, Dulcinea, is commenting about that. That'd be fun. I wonder if Misty's origins, like, to me, it's fun to ponder that and think, hey, like I feel like she probably had to like take care of maybe her grandma when her mom wasn't there or working, or like a single parent, or like, and that's why she's now a nurse, and that's why she knew how to do all these things and how to care for people. So that could be like its own kind of fun theory video in itself.
Hmm.
Everyone's parents, what do we think? How are they going to get it? And I hope that Showtime gives us that, because it does have a lot of effect, especially during their in which we're in a show where we're talking about their childhood trauma,
Hmm.
um, and a lot of that is brought, and this is all a factor of their now present day, you know, dealing with it and controlling it and getting themselves together, midlife
That's a
crisis thing.
really, yeah, it's a good point of like, well, yeah, Shauna and Misty's families in particular, we haven't been introduced to them. And I like the interesting thing, like I go back to Shauna's line that she said in the very first episode where Jackie's like, oh, Jackie has to be dropped off first because she has a curfew, and we all know how her parents are. But Shauna's like, I have a curfew too, my parents care when I get home. Um, it's just kind of interesting, like, and also considering, I don't know if you guys have watched that show called The Wilds, which is very similar to Yellowjackets, but they spend a lot of time in that show really emphasizing the girls' background before they are sort of stranded. And I think that's something they do a really great job of, is kind of exploring the girls, what they come from, why they are the way that they are. And that's something that we haven't quite seen much of in Yellowjackets, except for like in pretty much the first episode. So I would like to see that, because I think that psychologically has a lot of effect when you're in these kind of like survival situations. Having that connection and desire to get back home is something very powerful at like keeping your morale high and that kind of thing, which is very important, because once morale falls, or if there's somebody like actively sabotaging morale, that's a poisonous situation. That's a very bad situation. So I would like to see that. And again, going back to like Akila, she's really the only one they've talked about having a sister, and her really missing her sister and wanting to get home to her sister and her nephew, which for me, I loved that scene. I felt like it was just so important for everyone, you know? So I would like to see more of that. I'd
I
like
think
to.
Yeah,
just
it would be cool if they brought like a whole episode where they give us just a few flashbacks of their parent life, of their home life. Like that
yeah,
would, to me, that would be perfect for old wounds, but I could see where,
totally.
like,
I agree.
and then here's the
Um,
thing, they said Juicy, and I don't know how to pronounce. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. The theme of cycle trauma and abuse is inundating me, and it's true. But the thing is also like remember the '90s. Started being a thing. Like people were still beating. Someone had mentioned that maybe they think Travis's dad would beat them, and abusive like that. And that Travis was the protector to Javi most of the time. And that is in childhood abuse. Usually a parent picks one person, the oldest, or a lot of parents like they don't want their children to succeed, or if they show more skill than like like a lot of parents if they who do abuse like if their children is better than they are they get intimidated by it and they'll oppress them by abusing them or if they show
mhm,
stuff or if they want to fight them and it's a control factor so I think that could be an idea we also had the idea that Travis's father might be with Coach Ben like hooking up and then that's why mom is mad and Travis knows that these relations they're fighting and breaking up the marriage so there's ideas like that. But the abuse thing it was a really big thing in the 90s. I remember the whole like stopping child abuse was like a movement thing and they had like
mhm.
art competitions. They had all these
Kindergarten
things in the
Cop.
90s. Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
just starting to be, and now, only now in the past like 10 years, are they starting to accept things like, ADHD or the traumas or starting to make things like that normalize and normalizing um, emotional stress and trauma and things like that. So
Mhm. Okay, let's see here. I just want to catch up in the chat a little bit. Um,
yeah, I mean, I think I've been trying to do that while you've
I
been
know you've been
at
doing
it.
a great job.
Oh, not really.
Um,
But okay, thank you.
what do I think about the new Yellowjackets? I think they're fine. I mean, I think we need them. I mean, who are we going to start eating eventually? No, I'm just
I
kidding.
don't wait. Oh, like the new characters. Okay, I didn't understand that question at first
Yeah, I
either.
mean, like, so we have Crystal, what's this girl, Melissa and Jen, and actually Jen was in season 1, but we just didn't see her that much. But I think they're great. I love seeing Misty having a friend, and yeah, I think they're great. Extra muscle. They went out
The
and
JV.
okay. So
Uh,
I want to talk about Mari for a quick second. So let
yeah,
me
let's
pull
go.
up a
Yeah,
picture
because
of
we're
her.
getting.
Um, you know, so I think like all the girls serve their purpose, right? And I think that they are all important. However, I feel like um hang on, let me pull this up. Sometimes Mari and I it's like unpopular opinion, okay? I like Mari. I don't think she's a terrible person. I think she's entertaining. However, I think she's an instigator, and I think that's a bit of a problem. It's like I was just talking about if somebody has low morale, then that can be really poisonous in this kind of situation. And Mari strikes me as that person from time to time.
hmm
I am really annoyed by Mari in this episode, mainly for the reason of when they go out to go get the moose, she won't go with them and she lets Shauna go out. So she stays behind. And so does Akila. So Akila, you're not off my list for this. However, you are more on my list because you got that cute little mouse in your pocket. But I am very frustrated that they let Shauna go out there because that was a terrible idea. Shauna should not have been out there pulling that moose out of the ice. It doesn't matter. She's pregnant. Pulling on heavy weights is super dangerous. What if something would have gone wrong? What if the ice would have broken? All of those things. Shauna is the last person that should have been out there. And I realize that Shauna feels very responsible for providing food to the group. Like she just has really taken that role upon herself. But again, like Mari should not have allowed her to go out there. And even Crystal and Misty, who are sort of on Lottie's side per se, they went out and helped with this. Um, and help to dig out the moose, because they realize that it's more important than Mari's petty little games that she's playing of like, first of all, Mari kind of instigated the whole thing, the whole like competition between Lottie and Nat, and just kind of creating like a dangerous situation that she's sort of instigating, but then also like allowing Shauna, who is really the one person that they should all be protecting and taking care of, like allowing her to go out there and put herself at risk. And that just really bothered me a lot. So drip, drip, Mari.
Yeah, but okay, but Mari is also the person who is constantly making, the food, and she's the cattle, who's the goddess with the cattle? I can't think of it right now. But anyway, she is instigating, like you say, but I like the idea. Everyone wants to think that she's pit girl, but I kind of think that, like, what if she's the twist? What if she's that person from behind the scenes? Because we're not getting a bunch of her, and maybe Showtime's trying to throw us off. Maybe she's the antler queen, because she's so like, oh, we did what we did, and if you think you're better, then what are you gonna do? Eat him?
Yeah.
So
she's very, yeah,
she's very strong, and she's also
is.
believing, and like, yes, Lottie can be it, but like Lottie's more of a shaman. She's the leader of the tribe, and she could become the leader of the tribe because she's fierce, she's ferocious, she's willing to do things that nobody else wants, and she's okay with it. But she could also be, that's why she could be pit girl, because she gets put, like, come on, if you burn your bridges, you don't want to do that there.
Yeah. So I think this is like, a lot of people think that her hearing the dripping sound is foreshadowing to her being pit girl.
I like that idea.
So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Mari, calamari, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, like we see Misty's like, she's like, I'll tell Lottie. I'll tell on you. And Misty's like, tell her. I don't care. This is about food. This is about survival. And I love that. And then, but in this shot here, we do have Crystal like standing in between them. So I think that might be some foreshadowing also.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the face Crystal is giving her.
Crystal's like,
so
I don't really want to go out on a frozen lake and dig, but
but it could be like, that's why I said the imaginary friend thing, because it could be like Missy's just trying to be her bubbly fun self, but that's her like side.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, we haven't even talked about this yet, but yes.
Yeah, so we haven't talked about the moose. We really need to we'll start wrapping it up. But the moose was a great scene, going back to, so I made a moose video about a week ago after episode 3. And so Nat, this is kind of her animal familiar, that she came face to face with this animal when she was dropping off Jackie's remains at the plane. And it's really interesting to see, let me see what happened. I think it was an extension of her seeing the animal, because again, although she was like, oh great, this is food, Nat was so excited. Also going back, when we talked about the white moose, if you kill the white moose, it's a bad omen. So by not killing the white moose, even though the thing was dead and trapped in the ice, she still didn't consume of it. And I think that that's significant for the fact that like that perpetuates their sort of good omen energy, and doesn't allow them to fall into a bad omen space. Because I feel like even if they hadn't killed the moose, if they would have eaten of it, then it may have, been a bad omen for the group. So my other thought is that now they have a hole in the ice. So maybe the moose was actually the moose dying in the ice was maybe like it had intention in doing that. It's sort of like a message to them that now maybe they can fish, or so it was showing them.
I have a theory on that one. So I was doing some like citizen detectiving and Googling and stuff, like the learning. Bokwas is one of the supernatural spirits of the Native American tribes in that area. And he's often called the wild man of the woods. Some people say that it's also like the Yeti type things or whatever. But anyway, so this is a spirit story, but it's he eats ghost food, and tries to offer this to living humans who are stranded in the woods in order to bring them to the ghost world. And so
Ooh.
here we are with this moose, which is symbolic and stuck in the water. And also, if a human were to eat its food, if they turn him into the being like the book was. They live in an invisible house in the forest, and spirits of the drowned congregate there. And so it's also the similar, like he was a spirit that rose out, and there are many stories and things about it, but I was just kind of reading off Wikipedia right now. I'm not gonna lie, but there are also a lot of I read a bunch of stuff this week about it, but so it was a spirit that came out of the water essentially to like try to find people on land and try to do it. So the fact that the moose is in the middle of the water, middle of the lake, just like that, especially after she tried to kill it and it was like an offering. And is it the wilderness trying to get them to eat him? But like they couldn't get it out. And that's also like a drowning idea and hope for Nat and Lottie in this time, and it makes it's gonna throw us a big whirlwind on Nat's character, especially next episode or next couple of episodes, because she felt so hopeless in that situation. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think that you're on the other one. So Mandy was on the buck wasp this week. I was looking up something called a Wechuga. Excuse me. Which is related to the Wendigo, which a lot of people suspect that this might be a story of the Wendigo, or that might be what's haunting them. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, because yeah, we did have a sort of Wendigo-esque deer in season 1, that one that had like the bloody antlers and all of that kind of Wendigo vibe. However, that's also something that just happens to deers, because when they're like molting their antlers. So, because antlers grow back every single year, and they are covered in like a downy fur. So, so my thought about the Wechuga, because it is related to the Wendigo, but I saw some really interesting stuff. So, like the Wendigo, the Wechuga seeks to eat people, attempting to lure them away from their fellows by cunning. In one folktale, it is made of ice and very strong, and is only killed by being thrown on a campfire and kept there overnight until it has melted. Being a Wechuga is considered a curse and a punishment, and they are destructive and cannibalistic creatures. And they sort of like inspire, like the people they curse, they like make them into cannibals. So I thought that was really interesting, because it reminded me a lot of Jackie, because it says, when they're killed by being thrown on a campfire and kept there overnight until they've melted. Well, Jackie was put on the campfire and burned there overnight, but she didn't melt. She was, the snow fell on her and cooked her. And that kind of like coincides with the idea of like an icy monster, right? So like the ice kind of protected her, and then the whole group ate her. So now it may be that they are cursed with this like Wechuga energy. Of course, we could be completely off, but yeah. It's still fun to speculate, right?
I mean, not all of this stuff. I mean, yeah, it's definitely fun to speculate, and we're not even trying to be on. We're just trying to dive deep and see the connections and maybe try to influence, some of the fandom with some different ideas other than, hey, this is what happened in an episode. We want to get you thinking. We want you to be citizen detectives with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I want to,
yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily we're saying we're right or wrong. We're just having fun and speculating, finding these little details and these, this mythology that's connected to this area. Again, I'm from this area. I live in Southeast Alaska. I'm literally like 100 miles from where the girls are stranded right now. So like, I just love, exploring the mythology and like the native legends that are here, that
it has been so fun.
White Europeans just sort of like invaded this land where people have been for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So like there's such history and mythology and lore connected to the land that the girls are in, that like, they may just be, they've just been trapped in the midst of something they have no idea of what they walked in on.
I'm telling you, get down on the Buckless rabbit hole. And then it also talks about there's so many rabbit holes in that whole situation. Like if you just Google that and start reading. But I do think that is part of it. I think it's going to come back because it has like the long-haired man of the woods, and like we see the long-haired man with no eyes, and Javi coming back as the Messiah. That's what I'm.
Exactly.
That's my theory. Okay.
Yeah,
So.
I think you're onto something with Javi, like, because whatever he's endured, they're probably going to label him with having some sort of supernatural ability.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's true, they're going to decide that for him. And so it will be interesting to see like how, he sort of takes that on.
Or maybe that Javi was dead and that he is being haunted by the spirit, or maybe he is Bakwa now. You know what I mean? Like they got him, and then it's about and more. And I was reading about it. They do talk about resorting to cannibalism and things like that too. So, and there were some I should have made like a list of links that I could share with you guys. I'll try to do that. I'll try to save my reading and like try to share them more.
It's interesting how much cannibal lore is kind of associated with this area, because you can see as the girls, they're like trapped in this wilderness situation. Like, it's not like this is unique. Winter comes every year. And if you're trapped out there and you're not prepared, like, so it's kind of interesting that there's so much cannibal lore that's connected to this very wild area where, if worse came to worse, you might have to resort to such, and they sort of, they embody, or they apply a sort of, demonic energy to that idea. So okay, so let's get through this because we have perfect. This is what we need to talk about. Yay, our song of the week. So Yellowjackets song of the week. I don't think it's a big surprise for most of you guys because last week I went on a whole tangent about how I was waiting for this artist to be on the Yellowjackets soundtrack, and we got her. Alanis Morissette.
So also though, so in my assistant detectiving, her first song came out in like end of 1995, and 1996 is when she blew up. So that was like, maybe that's why we haven't got it, because they're following the timeline and the girls weren't introduced to her yet. You know what I mean? Because she got lost during the time Alanis Morissette was dropping her first album. But
so I never got to hear Alanis. No, my sadness is they never got to hear Hanson. So
I'm like, you ought to know how ironic it is that you haven't heard of Alanis Morissette.
For real. It's ironic. No, I loved it. She did a great job. I love Alanis Morissette, but I will say my husband is actually an even bigger Alanis Morissette fan. He freaking loves her. He is like, that's like the love of his life. I swear to God, he'd leave me for Alanis in a second. But and I would let him. I'd be like, please do. But no, but she did such a great job. It was so awesome to hear her and, just see her rocking out. I shared this in my what do you call it? Commentary, my whatever stuff on YouTube. And but the link to that, and she did a whole kind of Showtime spiel with like explaining, her getting to do that song and how much she loved it. So I just love it. I think there's some really great, such great artists, especially like the female artists. I think a lot of them who are being invited to work on this show, to do songs on the show, are just like so stoked about it, and I just love it.
Yeah. So I just dropped the link for Billboard's Top 100 for 1996 because I went down that rabbit hole too. I was like, well, what songs were released in 96? What can we focus on? Because I want to make a couple parodies. I don't know if you guys know, but I know that my regular followers and people who know me from the Game of Thrones fandom, but I make parodies and I love to do it. Last week we did the Love Fool, which happens to be the opening of this Billboard 100. And I'm actually currently working on a Salt and Pepper parody, which is off the chain. But let's just say Dead Ass
Girl,
Jackie
what's
makes...
my weakness?
Coach Ben! But yeah, anyway, so it's going to be fun, and I'm just trying to think of stuff like that. So I shared that with you guys, and it was really cool to get this. And it took me a second. I didn't even actually realize that was her when we heard it. And it's so
funny.
Good. It's so
I was
good.
like trying to stay off of Twitter while I was watching the episode, but I happened to like click on there, and the first comment I clicked on there at the beginning. I was like, I shouldn't go on here and check, but somebody said, whoa, the new intro, I love how they're changing the intro to sound all distorted as time goes on. And then I was like, wait a second. And then I listened to it and it says on the credits that it's Alanis Morissette. And I was like, what? So yeah, we were super excited about that. Hello, my dear friend Kelly is here from the Antler Queens podcast.
Oh, hey, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly. Thank you for being here. And yeah, we're happy to have you. We're starting to wrap it up. We've been going for like 2.5 hours at this point. So both of us need to kind of wrap it up at this point, but we are so happy. And also, if you guys are not subscribed or if you haven't checked out the Antler Queens podcast, definitely do so. She just was live last night. And I'm
sorry I missed it. I was planning to catch up on that today.
No, it was great. It was a lot of fun. Here, I'm going to take this down. But yeah, I think we got everything.
Oh, wait, who's your MVP? We have to talk MVP of the show.
Who is my MVP this week?
Well, mine is
yours. I gotta think.
Well, mine is it's still Walter. Walter's coming in my MVP. Or maybe Javi for surviving the wilderness, but I like Walter this week.
I'm going with Nat, actually. Nat is my MVP for this week. And there's one quick thing I wanted to throw out there. So Nat's my MVP. She stole the fish for Lisa, which was great. She, told Lisa's mom to shut the fuck up. And then also
yeah, you're right.
And then at the end, which was fully her goal this entire time, she got the keys to Lottie's house, her quarters, Charlotte's quarters. That was what it was. I don't know if you guys caught that at the end where she's holding the keys. She got the keys to Lottie's room.
What do we think is in there, though?
What's that?
What's in there?
I don't know, but did you see like at the beginning of the episode when she's watching and Lottie's like locking up this cabinet? So there's probably something really important in there. Maybe it's like a relic from the wilderness or something like that. But yeah, Nat is my MVP because she killed it this week.
I think that the deer horns on top of the deer antlers on top of her cabin, I think those are the ones from the wilderness. I mean, I don't know. Well, maybe not, but it's just fun to think so.
Well, even if they're not, it's still just like so distinct that she has them on her, cabin of all the cabins. Like, like, nope, this is where the queen lives, So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think actually I have to say that probably is the MVP of the episode too.
Yeah, she just, she did a great job because even like from the beginning, she was trying to play it sweet to like fool Lottie so that she could get those keys. She's like, oh, I need the keys because I'm going to go, do the honey thing. And she really she played it sweet. What do they say? You get more flies with honey than with vinegar. And so she was super honey sweet this episode. And it paid off.
But like in the end. For me, Walter pulling out the musical though, like I love Walter so much. Maybe it's because I have maybe like Elijah Wood was one of my my 1990s girl crushes. But like, oh wait, do you have the pictures? Can we show them or no? No, we didn't.
Oh, I don't.
We'll do
it
next
have
time
them on my computer.
So we found some fun 90s pictures of ourselves, and one of them of me is me with all my boy band pictures and like teenage heartthrobs of that time, and I'm literally like wearing a glitter belt, super 90s, and then like my whole wall is full of heartthrob pictures.
All the teeny bop posters. Yeah. Heck yeah. Dude, I don't know if you guys used to do this, but those were currency back in the day. So like I would take my posters, we'd go to school, you have your first of all, your binder had to be clear so you could put your posters inside the binder, but then you'd go and you'd trade with people. So I had a friend, she was big on Leonardo DiCaprio. So I was like, give me all your Hanson posters. I'll give you my Leo posters. This is a fair exchange,
Oh yeah, like the magazines, like first off, like 17 Mag was first coming out, Cosmo Teen. What is I can't think of the one with the.
There's like Teen Bop, like every variation of the words teen and bop.
Yeah, there was like the one though that you paid. Was it Teen Bop? That is where I can't remember where I got all these posters. I think it was Bop. Yeah. You had to pay, and they had all of like the posters inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, so
I loved those. I remember at one point I like being in like 6th grade or something, and my mom was like, "No, I'm not buying you this magazine," and I cried
TV.
in the grocery store. I was like, "I need the magazine, mom." You know?
I know. I love I'm a magazine,
Yeah, Teen Beat,
connoisseur.
Tiger Beat. Look at all these girls know what's up.
Hmm.
Heck yeah. You
And
know, the 90s were a wonderful time to be alive. Let's
I
be
still
clear.
buy magazines. I know everyone's like, "Oh, everything's online," but for me, I like to have the physical copies of things. And I actually like one of my interns was for a Trillionaire magazine, so I've worked in magazines. And it's just like I love magazines, love them.
Well, all right, you guys. Well, I think we pretty much covered everything today. Let me just double check
And
through here.
well, yeah, no, I just checked. We did,
Oh,
yeah.
you know what? Nope, I forgot one last
Oh,
thing. So I did run a poll this week
oh,
on my Twitter. So if you guys are on Twitter, feel free to follow me for ridiculousness. So my question was, what smells worse?
oh, you're so I
Adult
didn't involve myself in that one. I was like, oh, Erin.
What smells worse? Adult Nat's pants, her leather pants that she's been wearing for fucking 4 or 5 episodes now, and an in-between season break, or Nat's wilderness headband. And it turns out you guys think the wilderness headband smells worse, but personally, I voted for the leather pants. But
Well, I don't because you know why? Because leather like it has the oily effect and it ends up like cleaning itself and you're able to kind of rub out some of the smells. I mean, yeah, it gets smells and taint, but it does
yeah, but
oil
has she
out.
changed those underwear? Has she changed those socks under there?
Yeah,
I don't know.
you see them and they did have clothes and stuff. I mean, anyway,
I don't know, man.
who
I
even
think
wears
that's
underwear
gotta
really?
be.
Like, let's be real.
I always think about the Doors movie. I might be aging myself, but the Doors movie from the night. Well, I guess whatever. We're all aging ourselves here. Jim Morrison, he says something along the lines of, "Oh, come on, mom, I'm wearing my stinky old leathers." That's what I think of every time I see Juliette Lewis in those freaking pants. I'm like, girl, you don't smell good anymore. There's no way.
Nah, she's got like listen, she's got like 10 pairs of the same black leather pants. So
Maybe same
yeah.
shirt, same pants. I don't know.
I think I have like I personally have like 5 different leather pants. One of them has beadings. The other one has like a little bit of roughness on the sides. The other one has cut like layers.
This
But
girl.
like they look the same
5
unless you're
pairs
paying
of
really
I
attention.
have never owned a pair of leather pants in my life. I could not. I would look so silly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Listen, if you have confidence, you can rock anything. Okay.
that's true. Obviously, I live my life in flannels.
Simply Shauna, everyday Shauna.
Real life Shauna. All right, you guys. Well, we only have one thing that we must do before we leave this wonderful stream with you guys. But I thank you all for being here, and I appreciate every one of you.
I do too. And yeah, get down with these wormholes. If you have more wormholes for us, if you have more crazy theories, send it to the Fae Fire pages, send some messages, shout out. And also remember, we're going to be making this cookbook. So everybody get their gears on. And here we go.
Get your appetite up and, be prepared because we got some hot dishes coming for you. And thank you all so much for being here in the chat. Thank you all for hanging out. It's been 2.5 hours. We just apparently are getting longer every single week. So.
We're literally making an effort to make it an hour. We really try. That's the funniest part about it. And it's been the longest stream.
But thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
Jackie.
And what do we say as we sign out?
Jackie out.
Jackie out.